because all you give a fuck about is this rebellion and I love you. And it's like, I didn't know you loved me because we never talked about it. And now I'm back and I'm fucked up and you want a relationship and I don't know how to feel because we never talked about this before that. Because you give more of a fuck about what you want from me than me.
This is the right way. This is how everyone survives. They look ridiculous. They're only caring about the fashion. They're literally parading these kids and they're going to die. Mm-hmm. Fucking capital citizens.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. You're fucking like leopard
with
fur.
Their fucking stupid hair.
And their stupid plastic surgeries. And like, why the fuck are you turning green?
Snow, I have this new understanding of you. And then like,
oh shit.
Fuck you, bro.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Ale, and this is
Carla, and this is Booked and Buzzin.
From bestseller to hidden gems, we're going to be sharing our thoughts, reviews, and the latest buzz in the book world.
Today we're going to be diving into the Hunger Games trilogy. This is one of our favorite series of all time.
That's right. And we decided to dive into this world again because a prequel from the Hunger Games universe was just released recently, a couple months ago, I think, which follows Haymitch's Hunger Games.
Which we're excited about.
We are excited about. So we, as of right now, we have not read it yet.
No. And literally no spoilers, except for I saw one quote.
Don't tell me.
It's not. It didn't ruin anything for me, but I was like, wow, I'm going to die when I read this.
I have heard really great things, but I haven't read into it.
Literal goosebumps.
Oh my God. All right. Well, now you know that we decided to reread our favorite trilogy in the plans of then going into the prequel.
Yeah. And this time around, there's no red mic, which is a good indicator that we're not going to have a lot of bad things to say, with a slight little chunk right there for Gale, because I have thoughts.
We have a Gale hater.
Mm-hmm. It's me.
It is her. And we are drinking wine, our very own crushed berries.
Yeah, in honor of the berries that started it all.
Yes.
We figured we'd pay homage to that with a little berry drink. Yes. I used to be a red wine fanatic, but lately I've kind of been more into the whites. So we have different colors, but
I am forever a red wine girly. So you'll never catch me with white wine.
I will convert you. Just to one. It's Sauvignon Blanc. I'm saying that wrong because I'm not French or whatever, wherever that's from. That's the only one that I like, but I'm going to get you.
I don't think so. Okay. So I think that there's so much for us to say.
I think so too.
That I almost feel like the first thing I want to mention is why it's our favorite.
I mean, that's a deep one.
It's a deep one,
there's
and there's a lot
of reasons.
Yes.
I don't think it's one singular thing.
But I think one of the biggest, going off of our last episode a little bit, and we were talking about how we love fantasy. Mm-hmm. And this is dystopian, right? Mm-hmm. But it's done right. Like the character development.
So I don't think I'm a fan of much dystopia, even though I'm a fan of the concept.
Yeah.
But like Divergent, I never read it. I didn't
read it either, actually.
Yeah. I saw one movie, and I kind of think the Hunger Games opened the floodgates for
for sure.
dystopian. And I don't know if it's because I was just so into the Hunger Games that it kind of like ruined any other dystopian theme for me.
That could have been a big point for me too. Like I love the Hunger Games so much that it was almost like you're trying to be something you can't
do it. Yeah, no hate to Divergent because I haven't read it, but I was like, you're trying too hard.
And to be honest with you, it's funny because it is on my TBR. Like I do want to get to it.
It's not on
We
mine.
might have to.
Well, if we have to, listen. If you want us to read it, put it in the comments and we'll add it to the TBR.
Yeah. It is on my. I do want to get to this series because I have seen a certain clips from the book, from the movie, that I'm like, that looks interesting. Mm-hmm. So I'm not against it, but I think I was so Hunger Games is Hunger Games, and everything after that. Did you ever read the book? This was similar. That was called Matched.
That sounds really familiar. I don't think I read it.
It was a trilogy. It was Matched, Crossed, y no sé qué. Something else.
I don't think I read it, but I think I've heard of it. What is it about?
So it is similar in the sense that it is a community, and the whole basis of it is that when the young adults or whatever get to a certain age, instead of like there's like a reaping for partners. So like it's like you like it's the dystopian world, and they need to reproduce. So they just match people together.
Why can't I pick who? Well, here I go being a pain in the ass already, and I haven't even read it. Why can't I pick who I want? Okay,
Based on the movie, I mean on the books. And I only mention that because I think that is kind of like the third dystopian genre that I've like in the genre that I did read those, and I did enjoy them. But maybe that's why I didn't go into Divergent, because I read that one. I was like, it wasn't great compared to the Hunger Games.
I think for me, honestly, The Hunger Games is such a masterpiece to me. Genuinely. I just think it's so good. And in so many ways, I mean, I could go into different points as to why. I think the overall reason is because Suzanne is just a very good author, in my opinion. Yeah. But I just think The Hunger Games was so good that it was a bad introduction to dystopian for me, because it's what I held. It was like the bar that I held everything else to. Yeah. Kind of like Throne of Glass for me. Like if I had read Throne of Glass before ACOTAR, I don't know how ACOTAR would have landed for me, even though they're very different. So true. Just because Throne of Glass kind of shifted my perspective. Yep. So I think I never got into it because I was scared. Like I would see other things and I was like, "You're trying too hard," you know. Yeah, even though they weren't. It's its own thing. Different people taking creativity from things that they like and creating whatever. But
when we read these, we were kids. Yes. Like now we're like more open minded.
Reading this now as an adult has been so amazing. It's like a new experience for me.
It is a whole new experience. I think it's even how you relate to Katniss. Mm-hmm. I think her mom.
I love her. Well, you know what's funny is I used to hate her mom, and I still kind of do. I can't get over what she did. I can't get over it. But the way that I saw things, I was like, I can understand a part of this. And we'll dive into her mom later on. But reading it as an adult gave me a different perspective, because where I was reading it as a kid, I was like, fuck that bitch, you know? Yeah. And now as an adult, I read it and I was like, I get your grief, but woman up.
Woman up.
Like, you have children.
Too. Yep.
And I think it was clinical, honestly. I think it was a clinical depression that she had. Sure. I don't think I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think there's an excuse for neglecting children ever. No. But I'm just saying, I looked at it through a different lens. I looked through everything in a different lens this time.
No, exactly. And she did say it. In the book, she does, like, when Katniss tells her, like, right after the first reaping, and she's like, you cannot disappear again. Like, you're not allowed to do it. Like, mom gets a little defensive, and she's like, I know.
Can we talk about Katniss's journey? I'm teary-eyed.
I know.
With her mother, where she was like, I hate you for what you did, but I'm trying to let you back in. I mean, goosebumps, bro. This whole book was goosebumps.
But then she does, and she's still one of the most disappointing. She's one of the most disappointing characters in this entire book. Like, if we are going to even hate on Gale, I'm the mom's hater.
Wait, I could hate both ways.
I mean, true. But what I'm saying is, like, I think that I was so disappointed by her mother.
Too, but what I will say, and I'm not trying to defend her. What I'll say, no, if you want to, because I think that your child is your child. I think you're a mother, okay, and that comes before everything. And look, I get it. You loved your husband, and his grief crippled you. And I think it was clinical, like, depression or something like that, because the way that it broke her down was not normal. A lot of people lose their partners, and when they have children, move forward. And I'm not saying that, I'm knock on wood, that never happens. But, you know, I'm not saying that she should have just gotten over it. But what I'm saying is that I think it was deeper. I think it was like she was sick because of her grief. Is that an excuse? No. But I think that in the last book, what happens is she loses her child. That one, I'm like, okay, I can understand just completely losing it at that point, because you're not supposed to bury your kids, you know?
No, but then you leave your other kid to be by herself in her grief.
I know, but I can't even imagine
I
what it
know.
must feel like to lose your child.
No, I know.
So I can't really criticize that.
Can you tell that we're Latin?
We're like,
We're like toga madera.
I don't know. I feel really disappointed in her as a mother in many ways, but I understand her grief for her child more than I do for her husband, just because, like, as much as I think loving your husband is such a deep bond, I think having your child that's a piece of you there looking at you like, Mom, we're hungry, would snap you out of it. And the fact that it didn't, I'm like, I'm just harder on her for that.
Yeah.
But losing her baby, her lastborn, Prim, I don't know. And they were closer than her and Katniss, which is not an excuse. You love your kids equally no matter what. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like if that happened to me, I just don't know how I would move past losing my child. Even though she had Katniss, which is not, I'm not taking away from that I just think it's a complex situation. I
respect that. And I think that it is used as an excuse for her, though. In the sense that, like, as soon as she tells her, like, you cannot disappear again, like, you need to be there for Prim. Mm-hmm. And the mom gets defensive and she's like, I was sick. And I'm like, no, just take the hit. Take the hit and be like, I won't do that again. In the sense, you know?
I won't take that away from you. I do think that it was an excuse, especially with the dad. Yeah. Because it's hard. Losing anyone that you love is hard. 100%. But when you have things that you need to live for, responsibilities, like, you need to just grow up, deal with it, figure it out. And this is no critique to anybody that's ever been through anything like that, because I can't imagine it. But I'm just saying, like, in this book,
thank God,
the way that she handled her children were about to die.
I know that's the
about to
thing.
Die, and they were little.
Yeah,
especially Prim. She was teeny tiny, and I'm not trying to say Prim, but I'm just saying, like, Prim was always like the weak little, not weak, but the little, like, child, the innocent one, the sheltered, the catered for. So when you see, how old was she, like 4 or 5?
I think so.
That she was skin and bones, hungry, and you're still in bed. I know that you were sick, but I'm just saying, like, that to me is a harsher conviction of her behavior than Katniss, who, although the amount of PTSD and trauma that Katniss has is insane. Even though this girl needed to be treated severely, and her mother never did it, by the way, but even though she needed to, she was an adult-ish. She was, like 17, 18, and, like, was able to fend for herself as an adult. No, she wasn't, because she was super severely shell-shocked. But
100%.
When Prim died, I would understand that reaction better for Prim than her husband. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. But I do agree. Katniss's mother is a disappointment.
She is.
I don't even think she ever apologizes, does she?
No, she's useless. What do you mean? Like, she's literally, you are useless. How dare you?
Well, she did some nice
at
braids.
The end. Fuck her.
I agree.
Because how dare you know that your daughter was basically airlifted out of the Capitol?
That's insane.
Because she lost her shit, killed Coin. You're leaving. She leaves to be alone in District 12 with Haymitch, thank God, which I do have a lot of thoughts of that, but I'll turn back around for that one. And you're setting up a hospital in District 4.
That's insane. No excuses, in my opinion. I'm just trying to give
Your daughter was not eating. Your daughter hadn't changed clothes in months.
So, yeah, I get it. You want to give the ending its own space. And I'm going to be super honest with you. I really don't know how we're going to do this in one video.
No.
If you were looking at our notes, she has her own. I have my own. It is a thesis paper.
It is.
Because
yes.
This is how you know I love this book. As I was reading, I was taking notes, which I didn't do for the other 2 podcasts because I just didn't. Yeah. But this one, I just had so much to say, so many quotes. Literally, that's so funny that we're talking about Katniss's mom, because it's like my first bullet point.
That's hilarious, actually.
And I haven't even glanced at this.
That's how we're so in sync.
Her grief making her abandon her kids. That's what I have on here.
And I think that, again, I feel like I understand in the perspective that I genuinely have not been through something like that, right? But I think where I'm just going to go based on just critiquing the book. And here's where I go in the absolute masterpiece that this trilogy is, because the writing is beautiful.
Amazing.
How about the epic part of how human these people are.
So realistic. So relatable. I have so much to say about Katniss.
Yes.
So much to say about her.
So relatable, and so like, even as an outsider looking in and you dislike someone's choices or you dislike the characters,
not for me.
They're so human.
Yeah.
They're so like, yeah, I can see how you got there. Or, you know, I can just, you see the turmoil, you see the stress, you see the disappointment, you see the trauma. And it's just amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's just amazing.
So wait, just before we remove ourselves from the Katniss's mom conversation, I have a note in here that broke my heart.
Okay.
In the first Hunger Games, talking about her mom, Katniss, when she's in the cave and she's asleep and Peeta is stroking her hair. She goes that she thinks it's her mom stroking her hair in her dream because she's half awake, half asleep. And then she realizes that it's actually Peeta. And in her like mental, which one of the things I loved so much about this book was that it was first person. And I don't like first person that much.
Yeah.
But because it was first person, you got so much insight into what she was really thinking, what was really going on. And in her head, she admits that she will never let her mother do that when she's awake. And there's a moment where she's like, when I was asleep, my mom would do it and I would allow her because I could kind of like, I wanted it. But awake, I will never let her stroke my hair. And that it speaks to how deeply her mother's abandonment hurt her.
To the point where her whole goal was,
Man.
I can't allow myself to want her to care for me.
I think that, and I just kind of came to this realization right now, I could be wrong, but I think that her mom's abandonment of her is part of what affected her ability to love either Peeta or Gale.
Oh, yeah.
Because she struggled really hard. And, oh my God, I just love Katniss. There's a point where Gale is like, basically like, pick me. And she's like, I can't think of anyone like that right now. Snow is about to kill me. Like, are you serious? And I think that that's the biggest reason why she can't figure it out, because she's just like, right now I'm worrying about surviving. But I also do think, like, Finnick was able to find love in all of this. And she has a conversation with Finnick later on where she's like, how do you know? And he's like, one day you just do. And I think part of why it was so hard for her to be able to be like, I know who I need for my heart, was because she closed herself so deeply after her mom's betrayal. Because it was a betrayal what she did to her.
It is. And I'll go one step further, actually. Now that you're saying it like this, one thing I think about is not only her mom's betrayal, but how her mom got from losing the love of her life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good point.
Yes.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Like, how she realized, like, I cannot afford to lose myself because they reaped me again into this freaking arena. So, like, I can't even engage with the idea of allowing myself to fall for Peeta or Gale or anybody because I can't afford to lose my shit.
That is a really good point. Oh my God. This is such a masterpiece.
And it is. And I think that is the biggest reason why I think you see her shift in the third book and it's, oh my God, it's amazing writing, because in her thoughts, she starts questioning, like, could I pick someone? Could I love someone? Through the crap that she goes through when they rescue Peeta. Through the whole, like,
her desperation.
Yeah.
But it's so insane because she is Katniss through and through.
Yeah.
Is in the moment, in the, like, I need to protect this, desperate. Yeah. Desperate to protect Prim. Desperate to protect Gale in the second book. Desperate to protect Peeta in the third book. Through and through.
Yep.
It consumes her need to protect. And that's pretty deep. I think it's a pretty deep childhood scar.
Yeah.
Because she became the protector.
Prim. Yeah.
Right. For her mother, fuck that bitch. But, like, for her mother and her sister, because really she was just trying to put food on the table for her sister. And her mom was just there. Even though you can see glimpses of her giving a shit about her mom. You can. And I think it speaks to more of a human nature where it's like,
That's your mom.
right, time and time and again, you see people in
Yeah.
situations with their parents where their parents have not done what they should have for them, but they continue to forgive because inherently you have something in you that craves your parents. And this is why Suzanne Collins is such a good author, because she added so many levels of just different parts of humanity. So with PETA in the last book, it's crazy because she's so desperate for him to come back. And when she comes back and he hurts her, she shuts off completely. Not an ounce of like, even though mentally she is so conflicted with PETA, so distraught, outwardly, she's like, he's a mutt, dead to me, because she just can't help it.
She can't process anything.
She can't handle it.
And you know what is so it's interesting how
Amazing.
in this and this is goes into this thought process that I have of like what an amazing writing of a main character, because she's so strong.
Oh my God, yeah.
She's so strong, and yet
So
even
weak.
the strongest is so weak.
I
like
love that analysis of her.
Yes, like 2 or 3 times where she does that, where she just shuts down, like right after being what's it called? Right after being rescued by District 13, where she's just wandering the halls and everybody's just like,
do you know,
just let her do her shit. But
dude,
she is so strong, and yet she loses herself.
there were so many moments that made me cry, and one of them
100%.
that you're talking about with her shutting down, I don't even know how to structure this, honestly, because I have so many thoughts about everything. But there's this part in Mockingjay that I wrote it down because I was crying, where Katniss starts the book mentally broken, and in the previous book, Catching Fire, Katniss's manic despair when she finds out that
when
PETA,
they didn't get PETA.
dude, look, I wanted to quote this. And I'm back on my table, my body restrained, my wrists tied down. I'm going to cry. So I slam my head in fury again and again against the table. A needle pokes my arm and my head hurts so bad I stop fighting and I simply wail in a horrible dying animal way until my voice gives out. Chef's kiss. Just amazing. The way Suzanne is able to portray despair, and like I can picture that so vividly in my head. I can picture what she's feeling by what she's doing. It's insane. Oh my God.
It's such a I love that you included that quote, because it's such a moment of
broke my heart.
Complete surrender. Complete, like she tried so fucking hard. She tried so fucking hard. She told Haymitch, you better fucking not. You better fucking not rescue me this time. You better make sure that PETA wins this game. And to wake up and someone tell you, we don't know where PETA is, but you're alive and well.
In Capital 13. Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's like I can sense like the absolute like betrayal again. Like you fucking promised me.
And you know what's so crazy is that all throughout the first book, all she cares about is Gale.
Yep.
And her mother. She still sprinkles her in there. So you know she loves her. In the second book, at the end, she gets taken to District 13. She doesn't think one time, not once, from what I remember reading, about Prim or Gale. All she's consumed by is PETA. Where's PETA? What happened to PETA? Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Where her entire existence has been about taking care of Prim.
Yep.
And in this moment of despair,
she doesn't care who else is
all
alive.
she cares about is PETA.
Yep. And that was like one of the biggest floodgates to like, we already know who you're falling for.
You know, when I was reading it the first time, I didn't know.
No, and it's me either. But the second, I've read this a couple times, but like as an adult, the reread of that part, I was like, I love, and again, I don't want to go into the ending because it's like, I need like 3 hours just for the ending, but the moment where she's like explaining like why her heart needed PETA.
Oh my God.
It goes back to this moment where you realize as a reader that PETA became that one thing that she couldn't lose.
Yeah. And you're right. This reread, I was reading it and I was like, how could I not see that it was Peeta who's going to be? Because when I read it the first time, listen, I personally, when I'm reading books and if there's ever a love triangle, I was talking to you about this, where love triangles are a little love-hate for me. Because I love it when the person that I want her to be with, she ends with. But when she doesn't, I'm furious. And I hate the book. And this is the worst read of my life. So when I was reading it the first time around, I couldn't figure out who she was going to pick. And normally I will go for the dark-haired, just like the darker guy. Because that is my preference. Like, I'm Latin. And that's part of my culture, completely. Even though we come in all shades and colors, like that 100%. Is the general
and it's funny because the majority of fantasy books, the dark-haired guy is the guy, is the main guy.
And like no hate to blondes, they're beautiful, but blonde is just not my
it's not my vibe.
Right. I can't relate, and it's just generally speaking, like the sweet blonde guy is not my thing. Same. In this series, I was like, Peeta.
Yeah, I know.
The whole
and it's
time.
Like, even when I picture like what he looks like, I'm like, yeah, it's you.
Yeah,
it's you.
And then with Gale, who is the dark haired, I was like, fuck you.
Okay, you are a Gale hater.
I am. I fucking hate him.
Let's talk about it. Okay. My whole thing with Gale.
So go ahead. You could go first because I know you have less to say.
I'm gonna be honest here.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I don't hate Gale.
Wrong.
Literally at all.
Incorrect.
Because
go ahead. You're wrong, but go for it.
Okay. Here's my thing about Gale. I love how angry he was.
Okay. I understand that.
How angry he was even before people realized that they were angry. Like in so many parts of the book, Katniss is like, oh, Gale, he's always said things that he can't say, or he's always felt a certain way that no one else talks about freely. And I know that they were like in the woods by themselves and like they could talk freely, but Gale has always known.
No, he was
Gale
pretty consistently angry.
Always known that this was fucked up.
Yeah.
Gale always knew that this was fucked up. Now, I actually don't hate him at all because I see his jealousy. I don't know. I
fuck about his jealousy.
I'm Latin.
I don't give a fuck. Fuck your jealousy. I'm your friend. I'm your fucking friend before anything else. And you, whatever, go.
I know, but
where's the redneck, bro?
But I fuck with some jealousy. Like, I don't know, that's
not
the
like
toxic
this.
Latina of me, but
not like this.
I love me some jealousy. So okay, I'm going to go through the 3 books in my opinion. Book 1, Gale. Book 1, Gale is you don't see him as much because she's in the games most of the time.
Right.
But the beginning of it, right? Like where he immediately steps in to take Prim away as she volunteers as tribute. Like, I don't know.
I would do it for you.
I know, but settle it.
No.
With it.
When I hate you, I hate you. And there's nothing else.
I know. And so I think I'm going to be a Gale Defender, I guess.
Okay, well, we're going to have a fight after this.
So I literally feel like the way that he steps in, the way that then, he comes to say bye, the way that she knows that he's going to take care of her family. And then she goes into the book, to the games or whatever, which is interesting to me because this is really cool. I love the way she writes because there's nothing romantic between the two. Nothing. There was no inkling of romance.
No,
she
quite
knew
the opposite.
That
she addresses how like it's not like that in the book.
It's not like that.
Katniss says like it's not like that with us.
She knows that he's been, fucking around with every girl.
She even says like he has little girls and I don't like it, but not because of like a relationship, just because like him and I are partners. She straight up tells you like
there's nothing. But then how come all of a sudden in the middle of the games, when she's supposed to be playing with, like, the idea of star-crossed lover, she starts feeling guilty. She starts feeling like Gale is seeing this, and he's thinking, like, I'm really in love with Peeta.
She's compassionate.
So anyways, whatever. So she comes back, and then book 2, you can tell that he's right off the bat trying to step in and being like, I want you. She is emotionally unavailable, so she does not budge at all. But I appreciate that she came back. It was wrong. It was wrong because she's shell-shocked. Like, she's emotionally unavailable.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch The Hunger Games, Gale? Did you see what just fucking happened to me? Did you watch? And you're upset? Really? Really, Gale? Wow.
But it shows how young they are.
I don't give a fuck.
No,
you're not that young. You're not that young. No.
How old is he? He's like, what, 17, 18?
He stepped into being a father figure for his brothers and sisters. And you and I have both been in a situation where we needed to grow up very quickly. So you stop being 17 real quick when you need to.
But you show up in one way, but not another way. No. Like, you show up with your siblings and you show up with your family. But romantically, I can't say that we were mature. Like, ma'am.
Shut the fuck up.
So, and I'm just saying this because I think that he got her back. He didn't even think he was going to get her back. So he got her back. And it's not his. She's not his. But he starts feeling like, I
get what
want
you
her.
mean about got her back. Is like, you're back in my life.
Like, you're back in my life. You didn't die. I thought you were going to die. And I think that he realized he cared for her in that way when he's seeing these games. And
he said when he cared. It wasn't that moment. In the third book, he says that one time they were at the hub and like one of the peacekeepers. He started
feeling jealous with the peacekeepers, like taunting her.
So he knew for a little minute.
He knew. But at the same time, he was like, I'm not going to mess this up because there's no reason to.
Yeah.
Book 2, he's like, there's reason to. Like, I need to get this girl. So whatever.
Really?
I know.
Fresh off the Hunger Games, you need to get me, you fucking idiot.
Again, emotionally immature.
I don't give a fuck. No, you're not. But keep going. Once I
start, I'm gonna let you.
No, take your time. Here's the thing that we were talking about this off camera is that we were like, I really don't know how to get through this whole thing because like there obviously has to be a cutoff of time because you can't sit here for 5 hours and watch us. And
not Rogan yet.
She was and she was like, look, let's just talk because what we don't want to do is make this quick. Yeah. And if we don't get to certain points, we'll get to it later. So please take your time because when I'm ripping into Gale, I am gonna take my fucking time.
Okay.
So go ahead.
So book 2, I feel Gale's like, I don't feel his turmoil. I feel his like desperation. He's like, you're back, you're mine. Like possessiveness. I don't know, it's like Latina in me, but I love that shit. And he was like, now you're mine. And like,
and I love it too, by the way.
And so I take that from him, right? And then he's like, okay, she does not engage. And he steps back. He does. He's like, okay. She makes it clear that it's not about PETA, it's about her. She gets reaped again. And he's like, for sure I'm not seeing this bitch again.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So you're right. I didn't even think about that. He was like, she's dead as fuck.
So he takes a shot. She allows it. And no one, when reading this series for the first time, thought this bitch was going to survive again.
No,
you know?
No. I was like, well, what the fuck happens now?
So you're going to be like, la pobre. Like, o sea, like, ya se acabó la cosa.
Right.
So then she goes into the space. All this shit happens. And so that she's in the Hunger Games, she's away from him, all this shit. Third book now. She's rescued. And he is like in command. Coin loves him. And she starts noticing little things about him that she's like, you're going too hard on this. Like, you're such a switch up. And in my opinion, she feels that way.
I don't think he was a switch up at all.
That's
you're
what I'm
right.
saying.
You're right.
She feels this way. But for me, I'm like, no, he's always been this intense.
You're right.
He's always hated the Capitol. But I love the way Suzanne can like write in Katniss's point of view.
I love it
of
too.
Like,
it's amazing.
Did I never see him like this? You know? Mm-hmm. But like we did, the readers, we saw him for who he was and he never switched up.
I agree.
He was always intense. He was always like, kill first, ask questions later.
Yes, I agree with that.
And this continues on. And he continues to try to get with her. And I think that he has his own trauma and he's not able to recognize what is necessary, what is not necessary, or when is the right time. Or, I mean, you guys are in war. There is no right time at this point. You might all die tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And you can tell she's like, he realizes that she does not want to engage, especially when they start moving towards the districts and they have that one moment, which is chef kiss in the way that Suzanne was able to write a sexy scene.
I know which one you're talking about.
Without like being ridiculous. Whatever. We went over that.
Are you talking about the one where she dissociates?
Yes.
And oh my god.
That scene was like but I loved that he was like, this isn't what I want.
I love that too.
I love that. I love that he's like
that Suzanne put that in there where she was just like, oh my god, it just speaks to Katniss's trauma. Keep going. But
and he was like, I want you for real. Mm-hmm. I don't want you dissociated. I don't want you in your trauma. Which is right. I will say this, like he wants her to be like, let's kill everybody. That's what he wants.
He wants her to be someone she's not.
Yes. And so
you don't want her.
He doesn't.
So he doesn't.
I think he wants her in his way.
I think he wants the idea of her, but go ahead.
Agreed. So then he doesn't take it. He's like, I don't want it like this. And she very much just wants it like, as a distraction or whatever. And then we move on. Now, I'm going to use that to then, I think, Gale stepping back and not killing Peeta when he was such a disaster during the Capitol run, where he Coin literally drops him off as like
kill Katniss.
Kill Katniss.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. The fact that Gale steps back and does not kill him for her, I think is amazing. I think that he was like, is
that what you think? Because I think something else.
I think there's alternative reasons. I know that he knows that if he were to kill him, she will never get with him. And he knows that.
Biting my tongue.
Yeah. He knows that, though. He knows that if he were to kill Peeta, like Katniss, like any chance he might have had with her is gone. But I do appreciate that. Then we step into, and this is one moment where I'm like, that this is the only moment that I thought, Katniss, you bitch, when she didn't kill him and they took him. I was like...
But I'm going to be super honest with you. I don't know if I could do it either.
I know.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
You have no idea. I know.
I'm just saying, if it was you and I don't think I could kill you.
Do it. But you guys made that...
but it's different when you say I'll do it and then you're in that moment. I don't think I could.
I think so. I'll give you my honest opinion.
But I understand if you and I were in that situation and we were like, Pinky promised me.
Yeah, and you won't let me take. You won't let them take me.
And then I didn't do it and you were mad. I would understand your anger, but I just don't think I could. Like, I love you too much to like kill you. I can't.
I know.
But I understand that point of view. I get it. I completely understand. I just personally, I side with Katniss here, where I'm just like, I could not let go of that arrow.
And we can agree to disagree.
Okay, let's do that.
And then. I think, and I hope
you would kill me.
I knew this was coming.
Thank you so much. Because
I think Carta is going to feel like this bitch don't love me. But I think that I love you so much, and I love. If I were to put myself in that situation, what am I really thinking about in that moment? Like, yes, I know I'm trying to kill my best friend, but what the fuck is the alternative? You know what the Capitol does to these people. Like, they torture them. They fucking make them Avoxes. Mm-hmm. Is that the right word or whatever? Like, that's the best case scenario, if I'm being honest.
Right.
But you know how fucked up these people are. So, like, in that moment, I would never want to have to throw that arrow, not throw it, like, how do you say it? Like,
shoot the arrow?
Shoot the arrow? I don't know.
I don't either.
I wouldn't want to shoot the arrow, but then that picture would come in my mind. Like,
no,
the person
I think this is commendable. I think this is commendable.
I mean, I think I would. I hope I'm never in this situation.
No,
but
listen, I would never want to live any of this.
No.
But I think that's a commendable trait.
Yeah.
And when I was reading this as a teenager, I was like, I would shoot that fucking arrow too. But in reality, now as an adult, I don't think I could, and I would want you to kill me. But I know now, today, sitting here, I know I couldn't. So I'd be like, here's the nightlock pill because I can't do it.
Yeah.
Put it in your tooth, put it somewhere. I can't kill you.
Yep.
I love you too much to do that. Even though
But he gave Peeta his nightlock. He gave Peeta his nightlock.
I'm glad you did,
it's
bitch.
It's so important to me.
It's not important to me. That's a good point. I kind of forgot that actually.
He gave it to him. He gave it to him. He trusted her. He really, in his brain, he's like, this bitch will never let me, like, she will never let me suffer like this.
He did it back.
I mean, well, I'm gonna get to that because she does this, and again, it's kind of going back to the home perspective where I'm like, listen to me. I would hate to do that, but I think in my brain is you're going to suffer in your mind no matter what.
Right.
But if I suffer because I killed my best friend, I feel like I don't know if I can live through that, but I think I could talk myself into living instead of the horrors of like what have they done to her, like,
you know,
in
what it
my
comes
mind.
down to is that you're more selfless in that because
I'm not. I think it's actually more selfish.
I've always
because
thought
in my head,
that I could do it when I was younger, and as life has gone on and trials and tribulations in my life have taught me that like I just don't think I could kill someone I love.
Yeah.
I just don't think I could. And because I'm selfish, because I'm just like, I just love you too much to do that to you.
Yeah.
But I personally, if I tell you, Alejandra, kill me, I mean it. I mean it.
Yeah.
I really do. And I would
know.
never be like,
That's how I feel.
I'm haunting your grave. So I actually think that that's commendable. And I think you're right in this where like, she should have. But
You
I
never
could
knew
not
how it was
have.
gonna- Yes.
And I understand why she couldn't have, because she was just like, I just can't kill him. I can't do it. I get that. Even though you're right, because I forgot about the nightlock pill.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
She knew he didn't have it. She knew that he
But you
gave
don't think
it
in the moment
to
she kind of
her.
forgot? Because it's an adrenaline rush.
Fuck no.
Well.
Fuck no. I think she even wrote that.
I forgot.
I don't remember. But she knew that he gave it to someone that he didn't
Peeta.
give a fuck about.
He did give a
His
fuck.
direct
He
competition.
said, too, at some point, he was like, it's really hard to hate you, to Peeta.
Well, yes, because Peeta is
Right.
like 10
it's
out of
real
10.
easy to fucking hate you, Gale. It's not easy.
Well, but he didn't hate Peeta, but he didn't care about
No, but he
him.
was the competition. You're right.
But he was the competition. So, I digress to my main point because here's the thing. She knew that he didn't have a nightlock pill. She knew that he gave it to Peeta for her. I will die on that hill. Anyone can be like, oh, he's a stand-up male.
I don't think he did it
blah,
for
blah,
her.
blah. He did it for her. I don't give a fuck.
I don't think so.
He did it for her.
No.
And then you don't shoot him. And that for me was betrayal. That was betrayal. But
the
again,
best thing she
but
could
here's
have
the
done.
thing. No. But however, I do think my perspective
No, I
is
mean
selfish.
with the outcome.
Though.
That's the
Oh
best
yeah,
thing she
I
could've done.
know.
Not in general. In reality, you're right. She should have killed him.
But I do think that my perspective is selfish. Because my perspective is like, can I live with killing my best friend or can I live with not ending her torture and I have no idea what the fuck they're doing with her? That would keep me up at night.
Well, I think that that's better though, because my perspective is like, but what if she's able to, like, if it were a zombie situation, that's different. I would close my eyes and I would shoot you in the head because you're gonna I would never want to infect you, right? So if I got bit, I would want you to kill me because I don't want to bite my mom. I don't want to bite my dad. Like, end this. But with this situation, it's like, I don't know what's gonna happen. What if we win and I killed you? You know? What if you're able to escape? That's my perspective here.
I respect it.
I think it's selfish for both of us, but I prefer your perspective where it's like,
I'd rather
what if
live
they
with
torture
this
you
than that.
and then they destroy you?
That's my thing. We already know what they did to Peeta.
Right.
Who the fuck knows what they're going to do to him?
Peeta came back.
Yeah.
So, but If I was
Not great,
but
though.
I'm gonna be honest. If I was PETA, I wouldn't have wanted to come back. I would have been like, just end this shit for me,
For real.
please.
For
so
real.
I think it's honestly, this is actually really interesting. It's really selfish in different ways.
Sorry.
You did this last time and you were like, I just cracked my knuckles on the mic.
It's such a bad habit, guys. I'm sorry.
I don't care.
But anyways.
You've been doing this since we were kids.
I know.
Literally.
My mom hates it. I don't know. Okay, anyways. But yes. What
It's
were you
because
gonna say?
I would get in trouble whenever I would crack
Same.
my knuckles.
Same.
But I think this is actually, do you want me to keep that in?
Yeah.
Okay. When I look at this specific conversation, it's interesting because I think it's selfish in different ways for both
Agreed.
of us. And I love that,
Agreed.
actually.
I know.
Because I always kind of thought it was like one or the other. It's either like, you'll kill me or you won't, and it's because of this or it's because of that.
Yep.
But when you explain it like that, I'm like, damn, so we're kind of coming from the same place.
We're coming from the same angle and being able to make the decision that fits best with our perspective.
So you would not be friends with me after that. Then you would come back and be like, you
No.
didn't shoot me, bitch.
No. At the end of the day, I can understand your perspective and I could come back and have zero ill will with you. But if I were as fucked up as Pete, I'd be like, bitch, end me now though. Please.
Same. But he does.
End me now.
He does. He's
Yes,
like,
he
just
does.
kill me, please.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
this fucking series,
I know,
dude. I was about to go into a rant about that, and I'm like, calm down. We're talking about Gale. Stop.
But let me just finish with this. So,
Okay.
So she doesn't shoot him. Prim dies.
Mm-hmm.
Basically within the next 5-10 pages. Mm-hmm. And she loses it again.
Amazing.
Gone, fucking walking around the fucking Capitol, building, se fue. And he knows that there's no chance.
And what is his response, Alejandra? Tell me. Tell me how miraculous Gale is. How does he respond to her? Does he apologize?
He doesn't have to.
No!
He doesn't have to. She
Yes,
knows.
he does.
No.
You killed my sister, bitch.
He fucking didn't.
It was his plot. His idea.
plot that coin shot. Are you
I
going
don't
to
give a
shoot the
fuck.
messenger? Or are you
Pero,
going to shoot?
pero you don't have any sympathy for me?
But
What does
shoot
he
the
say when he comes in?
messenger.
But what does he say when he comes in, Alejandra? Tell me.
I don't know if it was me. He doesn't
And
know.
then, what does he say after that?
But again,
I'm sorry
I
for
think
your loss. I'm so sad. I love Prim. No, right? What does he say? What does he say?
What does he say?
Nothing, bitch. Nada. Ni pinga. That's what he fucking says. Nothing. Here's my thing, bro. Wait, finish, because I'm about to fucking rip into him.
Okay, then I'm just gonna say one last thing, right?
Okay.
So I feel like I'm gonna get her mad, guys. I'm gonna get her mad because here's the thing. When he says nothing, I felt it though. I felt that he was
Would you fucking
sorry.
feel?
I felt that he was sorry.
Where?
I
What did he
felt-
say that made you feel that?
I felt that he was so okay. I think that he knew that she was never gonna look at him the same because she knows that
¿Tú
it
te vas
was
a
his
resignar para
bomb.
eso? Bro, I need to put translation
But-
captions into this. I don't know how to say that. You resign yourself to that?
See? Yes. Because he knows that now she'll never see him as a possible person for her. But I can feel his, and this is why I think Gale is a perfectly morally great character. Because
Not
he
at all.
knows, yeah, right.
Not at all.
He knows that she's never going to choose him.
So?
And he only wants her regardless of how she comes. But
That's bullshit.
he's going to move on.
He
with
doesn't
his
want her
life.
as she comes.
I mean, anyways, so he does not apologize, but I can tell in his demeanor that it's just who he is. He's hurt. He knows he fucked up. He knows that this was detrimental to who he thinks he's in love with, and he knows that there's no chance, and he's gonna keep it moving. And I don't know. I feel for him in that moment because it's not his direct fault, but she's always going to associate her sister's death with him. And he's like, I can't even win this anymore. So
Okay.
I'm gonna lay back because it is him. Okay. He is intense. He has hate. He has fire, but he has no ability to be there for someone in an emotional way. That's the way he's written, and he's written perfectly.
I don't care.
Okay.
I may say, I want to say this before I start with my bullshit. That was a very good ending analysis because it made me be like, I have two voices in my head. The one that's like what I feel and the one that my brain was like, Carla, she made a point. And my heart was like, I don't give a fuck what she made.
I still hate him.
Okay,
go. I'm done. Basically, in summary, I think Gale was written perfectly to what character he needed to be in this book. I think he did a great job. I mean, she did a great job writing him. And I think that at the end of the day, I think that he loved her. I do think he loved her. I think that his fire and his hatred and his ambition to look for better will not falter for her. And that's what it is. And I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm glad you do. Because I don't.
Tell me. Carla, please tell me your opinion on Gale.
Okay. So, wow. I really don't know where to start with this.
Okay.
So you're right. In the first book, Gale's really not there. No, you're wrong with everything else, bitch. So cállate. In the first book, barely there. Didn't really make a fucking impression, honestly.
Okay.
This is going to deviate from Gale just slightly because it mentions him. But I have a note that this really, like, again, Suzanne Collins. 10 out of 10 writing. Chef's kiss. After Rue dies.
Okay.
One of my favorite things about Katniss is how much of a reluctant hero she is. How she's like, I don't give a fuck about being the Mockingjay. I just want to survive, right? So when fucking Gale, it's me.
It's so human.
And this actually, to me, speaks to a greater point, which is like, you are one of two people. You're someone who votes or you're someone who doesn't, kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Not even to go into that, but like, you're somebody who, when there's upheaval, when there's government distress, that you're somebody who's gonna go on the streets and you don't give a shit if you die. You don't give a shit if like they arrest you or the potential of that they'll take your family, right?
Gale.
Or you're someone who's scared and you're like, I don't want my family to suffer, so I'm just gonna shut the fuck up. And
Everybody
if I
else.
need to salute, I'll salute, right? You're one of two people.
Yeah.
And both of you hate what's going on, but one of you will do something about it at all
Gale.
costs, and one of you will not risk what you love.
Everybody else.
Katniss, Gale.
Yeah. Okay, I'm
And
glad.
she
We're
did
on the same point.
absolutely.
Okay.
She did an amazing job at making Katniss be like, yeah, this shit sucks, but like, Gale, this is our fucking life. Get over it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. Yeah.
And Katniss is like that the entire beginning. And in fact, Gale is complaining about like, oh, these Hunger Games. What if we just all don't watch it? And she's like, everybody's going to watch it. And he's like, but what if we don't? And she's like, but they will.
But we can't.
And he gets annoyed and she gets annoyed with him. And she's like, I'm not even going to say anything because I know how Gale is, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prefacing. But that was the tone of that conversation.
Yep.
She gets into the Hunger Games, has no desire to be an example for anything. And then Rue dies. And this whole time, Katniss hates the Capitol, hates what she's in. Pero ella se resigna. Like she...
It's where I am.
She resigns herself
deal.
to this is what it is. It's just what it is. And I can't change it. And then Rue dies. Mm-hmm. And I have a quote. She does the little flowers around Rue and she goes, Gale's voice in my head, his ravings against the Capitol, no longer pointless, no longer to be ignored. Rue's death... I have goosebumps. Rue's death has forced me to confront my own fury against the cruelty, the injustice they inflict upon us. So throughout all of these years, Katniss has conformed herself to like the Capitol, and it just is what it is. I can't change I'm one little bug in this whole world. I'm not going to change anything. And that moment,
but finally, Gale's fire.
No, not Gale's fire. Finally, she understood, like, I get it. I get your, like, I need to talk about a hatred about the Capitol. What I'll say about Gale, first book, very meaningless. That moment did stick out to me because I had already read the series and I knew where everything was going. The second book, I find Gale insufferable. I really do. You are not 17 in your head. You're an adult. You really are. You've been providing for your family for years. PETA, who has not provided for shit for anything. was a fucking crybaby at the end of the first book. You don't love me, even though like she saved him. And what happens in the beginning of the second book?
They're like both, they don't talk. They're not like, they're totally like isolated to each other. Like there's no like friendship or.
PETA, you don't have to apologize to anybody, including me. This isn't Catching Fire. I know it's not fair of me to hold you to things that you said in the games. You saved us. I know that. But I can't go on acting for the cameras and then just ignoring each other in real life. If you can stop looking at me like I'm wounded, then I can quit acting like it. And then maybe we have a shot of being friends. 10 out of 10 for emotional maturity. And he has, yes, he went through the Hunger Games, which was really scarring and traumatizing. Yeah. But Gale has been an adult in his head for years. PETA has been his age for years. So for us to say like, oh, but you know, he's 17 in his head. No, I don't give a fuck. Gale, I came back from the games. You saw what I did. You see me now. You see that I'm not the same person. You see that I'm extremely traumatized and you're like, love me. Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Then they have a conversation in the cabin. And I get it that Gale is like, just like, his whole life he's been so angry at the Capitol. Yeah. And he finally catches a glimpse of the possibility of, well, first of all, she's like, let's run away. And he's like, all right, let's do it. Finally, yeah, I'm down. And she's like, okay, great. I don't remember how exactly she says it, but like, PETA has to come. And he's like, I wouldn't be alive without PETA. I wouldn't. I'm indebted to him. You don't need to like it. You don't need to be happy with it, but I am. And the whole world thinks that him and I are together. So if he comes with us, we don't have to deal with the whole world shit anymore. You have to deal with PETA because now he's with us and we need to provide for an extra person. But that situation right there, before he even found out that there were uprisings, was a bitch reaction. I get it. You were jealous. But like, can you not understand that I've just been through something so fucking serious? I'm fucked up. I'm not the same person. I have extreme trauma and I'm trauma bonded to him. I am. Him and I are the only two that survived together. You don't need to like it, but there's something that ties me to him and I need to help him because he helped me.
But Gale knew that.
And he didn't give a fuck.
He didn't give a fuck because you're going to sit there and be like, oh, I don't give a fuck about, like, what if you were in that situation? My boyfriend yet. Yes, but at the end of the day, I know we both would be like, I don't give a fuck about that bitch.
Okay, but Gale, how many bitches have you had sex with? Like, how many girls have you kissed? How much shit have you had going on your side where he knows that she hasn't had shit? Everybody knows it. So this one person that I care about
Gale doesn't see how people. She can care about him in a non-romantic way.
I don't give a shit. Okay. It's selfish. Gale is selfish. That's the root of the problem. And you know what? Suzanne did a great job of making Gale extremely selfish and PETA extremely selfless. Because for PETA not to give a fuck about going back to his family, crazy. Night and day, yin and yang right there.
I know.
But for me, as a friend, even if I loved him and we didn't have anything yet, no, I wouldn't be like, you're going to bring this. I wouldn't like it. I'd be probably a little fucking shady to her. But I would be like, we're not together.
You wouldn't say shit. You wouldn't say shit.
Probably be like, what? Who's coming?
You wouldn't say
but I no, but you know me. And like, I'm but I would bite my tongue and it would brew. And then I would erupt later on.
You had to take your bitch.
You had to bring this bitch with us. I think it would be different, but I also think it's not fair because they don't have anything. They've never, until that, I think that actually she had mentioned they had kissed like immediately after we saw her.
The beginning of Catching Fire. Yeah.
And then in that moment, I think they kiss again. Yes. But I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for him to, for years, we were just platonic and maybe we felt something but never said it. In her perspective, maybe if we read his perspective, it would be different. But in her perspective, everything was platonic for years.
And then you come back.
And then I come back and now suddenly you want me to be your girlfriend because you saw me with PETA.
No, I agree. I think, but it shows what a perfect morally gray character.
I don't think he's morally gray. I think he's selfish. I think he's
No,
an asshole.
I think he's morally gray.
No, I don't think there's
that
any
he
moral grayness.
Has so much. We know that his decision making sucks, but he's not a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad guy at all.
Bad, technically.
I don't think that. I think that he has hatred and fire and destruction in his soul.
But I think it's too much. I think he can't control himself, honestly.
Nah,
yeah.
But you know
he
what?
can't control himself.
No, he can't control himself. But you know what? I dig it because I'm gonna light the fucking whole thing on fire.
No, because it's like here's what I'll say. As far as war goes, they have different perspectives, and that can be that. It doesn't. You don't need to agree. Like with the whole thing with District 2, where he was like, "Kill them all," and she was like, "You're not gonna let them." I think that's different perspectives. And I'll be honest, if I was in a war, I'd be like, "Kill them all." But
put the whole mountain on fire.
This is what I'll say. She has severe trauma. Get her out of that fucking meeting room.
I mean, why was she even in there?
Mockingjay.
I know.
But if I was him, I'd be like, you know what? Honestly, like, I'm not really even going to discuss this with you because you are just too
emotional,
fucked up right now.
Yeah.
You're not even, you don't even really have a place in these meetings.
You know what? I will segue for just 2 seconds, and I'll give you back the Gale hating section. Mm-hmm. But I love how little Katniss gave a fuck about these meetings. She was like,
I love how little she gave a fuck about the rules in District 13.
She was literally like, y'all talk about your war, y'all talk about your strategy, y'all talk about where I'm gonna go, but I know where I'm going. So like, which is such, oh my God, we have to talk about the fact that how she knew that her goal was, I'm gonna kill Snow and I don't give a fuck what happens after. But Beetee was like, what happens after? And she hadn't even thought about it.
I didn't even remember that part. In what part did they have that conversation?
Okay, so at the end, I think it's like, I don't remember what specific, it was in Mockingjay where
when they're in the round table?
Yes, I think so. No, because Coin was not there.
Oh.
And he was like, who takes over after Snow? And Katniss was like, que sé yo? You know, my goal is Snow dies, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, if your exact quick answer is not Coin has to get rid of you.
Oh,
because you're the Mockingjay.
I remember that conversation. Yes, you're right.
That's how little fuck she gave to the politics of this.
Yeah.
She didn't give a shit about these meetings. She didn't give a shit about the goal. But anyways, go ahead. Continue your Gale situation.
I just feel like...
You're on Catching Fire, I think.
Yeah. I just feel like there were so many instances where like... Dude. Even Mockingjay. All of Catching Fire, she was being lied to. By Haymitch. Probably, arguably, one of the people she trusted the most.
I have to talk about Haymitch at one point. But go ahead.
We do. I love Haymitch.
I love him. Oh, we do? We love him together?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I feel so bad for him.
I know.
I feel like he
And we haven't even read his Hunger Games, so I can't even imagine.
I know it's going to destroy me, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But...
the epitome of readers.
No, honestly, I need that. But I feel like he's one of the few people she trusts. And there's a test in Mockingjay with Finnick where they see PETA on they were both in the hospital. I forgot why Katniss is in there. Finnick is in there because Annie's not there yet and he's perpetually just lost. Yeah. And there's a broadcast of PETA and he looks thinner, I think. And they watch it and then it ends. And Katniss is like, oh my God. And Finnick is like, turn it off right now. And she turns it off. And then people rush into the room. And Finnick is like...
pretend not to watch it.
Finnick is like, oh my God, we were just talking. What's up? And like, oh, Katniss just woke up. Or so. They basically pretend they never saw it. And then he's like, let's see. Let's see who's on our side. And Katniss waits and waits and waits. And
no
nothing
one
from
tells
Gale.
her.
Nothing from anybody, but specifically nothing from Gale. And she tells him, she's like, are you fucking kidding me? At some point... And he's like, oh, you know, we were just worried that you would like, because you've been so catatonic that it would set you off. And I understand to an extent that, but you're the only person here I trust. Even you are keeping things from me.
Yes. But I do think it lends to your earlier point, which was she couldn't even be in these meetings.
But she didn't give a shit
So
about
it's
the
not on
meetings.
him.
No, but it wasn't a meeting. It was a broadcast.
Yeah.
That got broadcast through all of 13. And he kept it quiet. And I get it that you were like, oh, I don't want to set you off. But it's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, I am how I am. It is what it is. But I'm also not going to, conveniently, not going to tell you things about PETA.
You're going to hate this. You're going to hate this.
What?
But I feel like it also shows that he cares about her.
No, I feel like it shows that he was like, I don't want her to know how PETA's doing. And here's the thing about the nightlock
I
pill.
don't
Let me
think
tell you something
so.
about that fucking nightlock pill.
She's been wanting to tell me about
Listen,
the nightlock.
this whole shit about like he wouldn't kill fucking PETA. You know why I think he didn't want to kill PETA? Because he was like, let her hate him more. Let her be like, PETA is dead more. Let PETA die in her fucking mind more. Because I'm not gonna kill him. I'm not gonna kill him.
I don't think
I'm not gonna
so.
kill him unless he's straight up gonna kill her.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna kill him unless he's a fucking like straight up threat. Because he asks her, "You want me to kill him?" And she says no. And he's like, "Okay, I'm not gonna kill him." So until Katniss gives, I think if she was like, "Kill him," he would have been like, "Foop," dead as fuck.
Yes.
But I think he was like, because he says it, he was like, until he gets better. This is. PETA gets back. And then fucking Gale, instead of being like, wow, she's in distress. Wow, somebody she gives a shit about, not loves, just cares about, is fucked up. What does he say? Unless he gets better, I'll never stand a chance. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Do you know the shit they've done to him? Instead of being like, wow, the Capitol's disgusting. Look how fucked up. He's like, unless he gets better, I'll never stand a chance with you. Are you serious? Right now, you think that's what I give a fuck about? Right now, that PETA just came back and almost tried to kill me. You think I care about our relationship? Are you fucking kidding me?
He's just a boy with his heart.
I don't give a fuck about his heart. It's just
I
to an extent, I've been in situations where I love someone and I can see like, wow, crazy shit is happening right now. Like, let me focus on the crazy shit, you know?
But then it wouldn't have been written so wonderfully.
But
This
he
is
is a
who
bitch.
Gale is.
I don't give a fuck about that.
No, he's not a bitch.
Yes, he is.
He is.
No, he's a crybaby bitch is what he is.
He's
He's
endgame.
What?
He-
Endgame where, girl? You fucking
Not
like PETA
endgame
too.
with Katniss. I'm
No.
just saying endgame like he has
No.
he has his direct plot. He has his direct goal.
Bitch, your direct goal is to end this bullshit. It can't be end
With
this bullshit
Katniss.
and then be. And here's what I'll say. You were saying that he loves Katniss, right? No.
In his way.
He loves the idea of Katniss.
No.
He loves who Katniss could. Yes. Because when she doesn't do shit the way he wants it, he gets pissed at her. He doesn't talk to her. He doesn't want to fuck around with her. When she's like, we need to run away. And then she lets slip like, oh, because there's been uprisings. He's like, no, we're not running away anymore. And she's like, Gale, we need to fucking go. And he's like, you could do whatever you want. I'm staying. He doesn't love Katniss
man.
through and through. He doesn't love Katniss through and through.
I think he does.
He loves who she could be.
I think he
tells
loves
her
but he
when she's
loves
going
her
into the games,
in his ability
just
to
shoot
love.
them like they're like game or whatever. And she's like, they're people. And
Again.
he's like, shoot them like they're game.
Because they
He
are
wa-
at this.
Right.
I know.
Right.
I
But
know.
he doesn't
But
love.
He doesn't. He knows what it takes to win.
Yes, he does. But that's not who Katniss is.
No. But he loves her, so he wants her to shape the fuck up and come back.
But people are different. I can't be
I know,
who you want me to
but
be. You
I
either
can
accept me
imagine,
or you
I
don't.
can imagine my
And look,
person
I will
telling
say-
me, I don't give a fuck what you want. I need you to come back.
Right. But even regardless of that, like, I just don't think that he loves who she is because he's like, but this is
Well,
why.
why wouldn't he?
I think he loves who he knew. But when she comes back from the game, she's not the same person.
No.
And I don't think he was able to assimilate that, like, Katniss is dead. And
Yeah.
this is the new Katniss. And it's not that I'm saying he was trying to change her because he was pretty consistent with his personality in the second and in the third book. But I just feel like what she needed, he was not giving. And he was not willing to give. He was not willing to understand things. And I understand that Gale is Gale. And he has always cared for Katniss and will always care for her kind of thing. But it's like, look at what I went through. Look at me now. I'm a shell of who I was. You don't love that version of me. You want me to fuel this rebellion. I don't want to.
But he does, though.
But he doesn't.
never. Yes, he does. He does.
No.
Because he knows that she's a shell. He's not pushing it in most of Mockingjay. He's not.
No, he's not.
He's not pushing it in most of Mockingjay.
Which annoyed me because I was like, be more evil.
But that's why he's such a well-written character, because he's not pushing
But
he still wants her.
No, but you know why he's not pushing it in Mockingjay? Because now he has a position of power. In Catching Fire, what was he doing?
But just because he's busy does not mean that you don't know that his end goal is to be with her.
No. In Catching Fire, he was like, you should be fueling the flame to her.
Oh, well, but the flame was already fueled, so he can just roll with it of 3.
He was like, well, if there's rebellions, then we need to this and we need to that. And she was like, no, I don't want to. She's like, oh, he was like, well, he was getting mad at her. Why is he not doing that in the 3rd book? Because he doesn't need to.
Well, because he doesn't need to, because he already got his way.
Exactly.
She is the Mockingjay.
Exactly. He doesn't need to anymore. Right, but he doesn't need to fuel the fire anymore because it's there. He doesn't need to push her to do anything because it's already in motion. Would it be great if she was the Mockingjay?
His perspective was,
but the rebellion is already there.
Yes.
And in the 2nd book, the rebellion is not there. And he's like, we need to. So, and I understand that he's coming from a place of like, this is
fuck
big.
this up. Yeah.
But my point is, who he loves is not there anymore. And I don't think he can discern that.
No. But you made my point.
Which is what?
Which is he can't discern that.
Right.
He loves her, but doesn't know what part of her. He loves her and feels like there's an image of her.
Right. That's what I believe. He loves that image. But that image and the reality are not the same thing.
He has not recognized that there's a difference.
I don't know how you can't recognize that.
Because basically on book 3, he's like, I don't need her to do anything anymore.
Exactly.
Because she already did this, and now I got it.
Right.
I can still love who she is.
I think he's just like, I still love you, but like, what takes precedence now? His missions, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is like, I think he fell in love with her. Mm-hmm. I think she came back from the games different. I think in the 2nd book, Catching Fire, they were at odds because what he wanted and what she wanted were different, and he couldn't understand her, and he was like pissed at her. You could tell he was visibly pissed because he was like we could this, we could that, and you just wanted this and you just wanted that. He's being himself. He's being who Gale is at his core, and she's being who she is at his core, which is she's scared, she wants to hide, she doesn't want confrontation, and he is confrontational, has fire, wants to destroy. And that's what is at odds in the 2nd book. And in the 3rd book, he got what he wanted. So that
he got what he wanted.
That desire is satisfied. And now he's just like, pick me. You won't pick me unless Peeta's back. Let's get him back. You won't pick me. Right. But at his core.
Gale is the perfect example of I want my cake and eat it too.
And who gets that?
I don't know.
No one.
I don't think... Who doesn't want their cake and eat it too? That's what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is he's not realistic. Right, but he's not realistic. Because how does she come back from these games and you think she's normal? Look at Haymitch. Everybody knows he's the laugh of the town.
Haymitch.
How do you look at Haymitch as the only District 12 survivor and expect Katniss to come back as the same girl that left? And you're watching these games, and I understand that it's hurtful because you have feelings for her, but you've never expressed them. You've never had a moment. How can you see her come back and be upset with her? You know this girl. You know her. You know she's emotionally detached. You know she doesn't have relationships with anybody.
No.
You see that they're like, announcement. There could be 2 survivors, male and female, from the same district. And then she runs to him. And then you're not like, oh, something's going on in this shit. This hurts my feelings. I'm hurt. But she's surviving because of this. Because they're helping each other, right?
No.
And then she comes back and is waiting for you in the fucking woods. And you're like, pick me. Like, are you fucking serious?
That's not how it went.
Basically.
No.
Basically.
No. She was back in the woods and he was very nice.
And then he kissed her. No, he was awkward at first.
He was awkward, but he was not like mean to her.
No, but I'm saying the
Or
theme
resentful.
of the second book is pick me.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, and anger. And then she shows up all of these ways for him because she gives a shit. And he knows that she gives a shit.
Yeah.
And then he's working in the mines every day. And what does she do for him? What he did for her in the first book, which is their...
Feed her family.
Exactly.
Feed his
their
family.
agreement.
Yeah.
And then in the third book, all he's doing is like, I'm the big boss now. I got what I wanted, a rebellion, which is good. I'm not saying shit against the rebellion. The rebellion was necessary.
For sure.
But what I'm saying is like, I just feel like he was so selfish. I feel like all he gave a fuck about was what he wanted. I want a rebellion. I want Katniss how I want her. Agree with me. The rebellion is the way. We need to kill everyone in District 2. It is what it is. And by the way, I agree with the it is what it is mentality. In war, anything goes. Unfortunately.
Goes. Yeah,
it's disgusting. It's sad. It's miserable. But she's not like that. And they bump heads over it. And even at a certain point, she's pissed as fuck about him. Pissed as fuck at him, and they go to District 12, and he's being like weird and quiet, and she's the one who has to pull him out of his shell and be like, oh, remember this rock? This is our like whatever. Do you not remember that?
Yeah.
I have been through extensive trauma. Get over your shit and pull me out of my shell. Why do I need to be the bigger person always? Why do I need to care about Gale's feelings always? Why in book 2, when I'm fucked up from the Hunger Games, do I need to worry about what you're fucking feeling instead the other way around? Obviously, I don't give a fuck about Peeta, because do you see me in town with him? No. Do you see me at his house ever? No. Am I in the woods with him? No. I obviously don't give a fuck about him like that. So why can you not get over your shit and think about, fuck, look at Katniss. She killed people. She's fucked up. She's not the same person. Yeah. Let me give a shit about her. And why in the fucking third book, when I'm riddled with fucking trauma and everybody sees it because I'm hiding in fucking vents, why in the fucking third book do you not give a fuck enough during that moment in District 12 to be like, Katniss, déjame pasarte la mano? Why?
He can't.
He can't because he sucks.
He can't because he is so emotionally fucking detached.
So is she at times.
But I know, but this is what you are explaining, a perfect scenario of what Katniss and Gale would have been together.
True.
Would have been no emotional support. It's true. I'm not going to sit here and be like, if she would have picked Gale, she would have been happy rainbows and butterflies and he would have listened to all her emotions.
You're right.
You are literally explaining who Gale is.
But I
Fire and lack of emotional support.
Here, I think my problem here is that, like, I look at Gale from Katniss's eyes and I'm like, you're my friend. My only friend. Romance is something else. It's like if you were going through something really hard and I became aggressive towards that.
Yeah.
It's like, but you're my fucking friend. I don't have anyone but you. And I'm super fucked up. All I have is my shitty mom and my little sister that I'm trying to protect. And then Peeta, who I'm not really even friends with him.
But he has
I just have you.
Whole family and fire in his soul.
But
he can't.
Right. But before everything, they were friends. And that's my biggest problem here. Because if he was a romantic interest, I wouldn't feel this strongly about it. It would be like the Tamlin thing where I have strong feelings towards Tamlin, but I was like, but you're a romantic interest. But Gale, you are my best friend. She says it all the time. You've been my best friend. You are my best friend. And like, you're all I have.
Yeah.
You're my only way of being just me. Because at home, I'm a provider. And with Peeta, I'm a survivor. And with you, I'm just me. And I can't even be me anymore. Because all you give a fuck about is this rebellion. And I love you. And it's like, I didn't know you loved me because we never talked about it. And now I'm back and I'm fucked up. And you want a relationship. And I don't know how to feel because we never talked about this before that. So my problem with Gale is not the perfect relationship. It's that you are my fucking friend. To me, it's a betrayal. Because you give more of a fuck about what you want from me than me. Because if you gave a fuck about me, you'd be like, I feel this way, but you're my friend and I love you and I care about you as my friend. And no, he's like, I want to be in a relationship. You care about Peeta. Are these his gloves? I don't want them. And she's like, no, they're sinners. And he's like, then I'll take them. And then she's like, there's a rebellion. He's like, keep your gloves. Like, are you fucking serious, bro?
That was in his.
Are you serious?
Moment.
My problem with Gale is not the relationship. It's you were my friend and you're not anymore. I came back. I lost myself because I'm not me anymore. My sister grew the fuck up because she says it at some point. Like, the Prim that I left is not the Prim I got back to. My life changed. I'm at the mercy of the Capitol forever now in Catching Fire. And I lost my best friend. I can't even go to the woods. She says it. She's like, the woods is where I feel like myself and at peace. I can't even have that anymore. And I get it. You're hurt. But like, can you think about anyone but yourself? Because Gale's selfish. All he thinks about is what he wants. Fuck the relationship. We were friends for years. We survived together for years. You know me in my most comfortable way. And I come back to this bullshit after having so much trauma?
No, though.
Yes.
I don't agree because I don't think that... Yes, you can look at Gale's actions and think that he's selfish, but I think that he's just emotionally unavailable.
Maybe, but then why do you want a relationship?
Because he's emotionally unavailable with certain things. It's kind of going back to like, if Katniss and Gale would have ended up together, they would have never had the relationship her and Peeta had.
Of course.
Because he is fire. She said it perfectly.
Yeah, no, he is fire.
I'm not going to sit with him and have this whole like lovey-dovey, like hold me while I cry. Mm-hmm. I'm with him because he's going to be like, Gale, I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. Move on. And I say this because I feel like he's not selfish. I think he's goal-oriented, and he wants his cake and eat it too.
And that's selfish.
He wants
cake and eat it too is selfish.
It is, maybe, but I think that he has one way to look at it. Mm-hmm. And I think that his one way to look at it, I don't think he's coming from places as, why do I think it's selfish? I don't think he's coming from this and being like, this is what I want, haha. I think he's looking at it from like, this is the right way. This is how everyone survives. This is how everyone.
That's so obtuse. You can't look at things through one lens.
But he is. That's who his character is.
My biggest problem with him, and I know I was screaming like for 30 minutes because this audio was like, woo, woo, woo. My biggest problem with him is that Katniss was in the looking lens of you are my friend and came back to something else. And she came back to it not on a regular day where she went to school, came back, and he was like, I have a thing for you. She was looking at that scope immediately after having killed people, lost people she loved, survived. The way that Suzanne talks about the Hunger Games, it's so long and amazing and in depth, and you live there with her. And one of my favorite parts, and I think I might have written this, was how she describes Foxface. Do you remember when Foxface is getting lifted out of the arena?
Yes.
She says,
that she is like emaciated.
So she
yeah.
She's like, she looks at the crane and she sees emaciated Foxface being lifted. Yeah. And in the movies are actually pretty good, in my opinion.
I think the movies are actually really good compared to other.
Pretty accurate in terms of like what's in it, because to be honest, to adapt an entire book exactly is very difficult. Yep. But in terms of like comparison, it's actually really good. Yeah. And when I was like reading that specific scene, I was reading the Hunger Games and I was like, damn, it's so much longer in the books than it was in the movies because I had forgotten that part. And it was so realistic. It was so day by day. This is how she's getting skinnier and struggling and this and that. And when she describes how Foxface gets lifted and she's emaciated, and then she talks about how Katniss, when she gets taken out of the arena, and Peeta, they're both super skinny to the point that they need to pad her dress because she's so skinny because of not having eaten. And she looks in the mirror and she's like, that's not my face. It's like gaunt, basically. And so, like, you see me coming home like this. You look at me. You saw me in the game starving to death. You saw what I did. You saw how I survived. You saw me watching these dogs that were the tributes. Oh, fuck. You saw all of this. And I come home and your first thought is, let me kiss her?
I know.
I'm sorry, but to me, I'm like, how selfish could you be? Because no matter how much I love somebody, like this is how I am, and maybe this is why I'm looking at it this way. I'm very much like, I love you so much that you come first. Like, I will always care more about what you feel than what I feel. Yeah. So if I saw her come home and I was like, you're not Katniss anymore. And like, look at you, bro. And I would be watching and being like, oh my God, I can't believe she's going through this shit. And then she comes home, she's very obviously fucked up. It's not a secret. She's not hiding it. And your first reaction is, I want to kiss you. I have a crush on you. Are you fucking kidding me? And of all people, it wasn't her boyfriend when she left. It was her best friend. And she came back to this weird fucking situation with him. So to me, yeah, he's emotionally unavailable, but you're selfish. You're selfish as fuck. Because you see how I came back. Catching fire is what fueled my fucking hatred for him. Because in Mockingjay, honestly, he really wasn't that bad. And I'll be honest, like, with that moment where he was like, I wanted you to become the Mockingjay by yourself. Like, she's like, you always wanted this? And he was like, yeah. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? And he's like, because I wanted you to make that decision for yourself. It made me be like, because I wanted him to be a bigger asshole. But what nailed him in the coffin for me...
But he's
what
not.
put the nail in the coffin for me was when he comes into the room and she's like, was it your mom? And he's like, I don't know. And no apology. No, I'm so sorry for Prim.
He's lost.
But I don't care. You were my friend, bro. You were my
but
friend.
For him, it ended
and
up
you knew
something
Prim.
else.
But you knew Prim. And you cared about her. Like, fuck what you feel. What about my sister? Say something. I'm sorry. I'm so devastated. Our families were friends. Like, no, to me, it's not as simple as he was emotionally unavailable. If it was a random guy, if it was a situation where they started dating and they cared, no, you were my friend since I was how old? 12?
I know.
That is to me a humongous betrayal.
I know.
So fuck Gale.
I still think.
No. I mean, we're going to agree to disagree here because I get what you're saying.
I understand what you're saying. But I think it just shows how beautifully written he was.
No, you're right. It is good writing because it made me feel so much anger towards him.
Yes. But I also felt this like consistent need to explain himself. Like everybody, like
Really?
What I mean by this is like in her perspective, she in book 3, she consistently felt like, what the fuck is wrong with him?
In book 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, what is wrong with him? Why would he do this?
Right.
Why would he think this way? Why would he say this? And I'm sitting here as the reader. I'm like, girl, he's been like this.
Yeah, you're right.
He's been
I
like
agree.
this.
I agree.
And I don't think he's wrong.
I think with War, he's not wrong. As a friend, I think he's wrong.
I don't think he knows what it is to separate ultimate goal versus true love and true friendship.
Well, I don't think it was true love, obviously, because I think it was desire. I think he desired her. I think he fell in love with the idea of Katniss, who she was when they were in the woods,
I could agree
uncomplicated,
with you.
And then the reality of who she became and who he knew and who he wanted and what he wanted, because they were never together. So it's like,
no,
you can't say...
But I do think that he did have a little bit of fantasy in the sense of like, holy shit, she's the Mockingjay.
You think?
Yes, I did. I do think that
she
came back and he was like, at least in book 3, that he was like, you could do so much.
Yes, that's true. He did.
I think he felt like, you're the Mockingjay.
But I didn't think he wanted her because of that.
No, not necessarily that. But I'm saying like, I think it only piqued his interest further because he thought that she met his fire. And maybe you're right. Maybe he doesn't know her like we know her, right? We know that she's sentimental. We know that she doesn't want to kill out of sport. And so I think that he's like, holy shit, you're the Mockingjay, and I'm going to be the fire under your ass. Like, let's fucking
I think no one knows Katniss. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
She's very, very cerrada.
Correct.
Like, she closes herself up, thinks things, even in Mockingjay, it was so, I loved it. I fucking loved how she would reflect over Peeta. And she was so hard on herself. Like, hold on, there's a quote I want to read where she goes, I suddenly want to tell Peeta everything about who he is. That's when they're in District 13 and he's shackled up.
Yep.
No, not just, they're in the Capitol.
No,
they're in the Capitol.
Yes.
And they're going through everything. And then Coin sends Peeta and he's playing Real or Not Real. And it's her turn to watch him at night. She says, I suddenly want to tell Peeta everything about who he is and who I am and how we ended up here. But I don't know how to start. Worthless. I am worthless. Katniss's self-esteem.
In the
lower
gutter.
than low. Lower than
Yeah.
low from the beginning of the series. She's always been very, I think it turns up times 10 after the Hunger Games, but she has always kind of felt like in the first book, she's very defensive and very on guard and very survival.
Yep.
But she starts feeling guilty when she
Yes.
sees Peeta do things. And she's like, oh, shit. I'm kind of a bitch, you know? And then
Yeah.
in the second book, her fucking self-esteem is low as fuck. And in the third, in hell, that's where her self-esteem is. Like, she feels
She only
awful for
shows
things.
up. Yeah, she only shows up in a defensive and strong way because she feels like there's no other shot if I don't stand up for this.
Right.
Which is
So-
the whole idea with Haymitch. She's like, if you're gonna put a script on her, she's gonna look like a dumbass.
Absolutely.
But if you put her in a place where she actually needs to react because something horrible is happening, you're gonna see who she is.
Right. And I think that to your point of like, maybe Gale doesn't really know what she's thinking and feeling. I don't really think anybody knows what she's thinking and feeling because I don't think she expresses it ever.
No.
Because right after that, she fucks off. Like, she's like, I'm leaving. And she leaves. She doesn't tell Peeta, like, there's so many things I want to tell you.
Yeah.
She's not good at putting the words in here, out there. She closes everything up. So I think you're
100%.
right. I don't think Gale knows. I think ultimately we look at it through two different lenses.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. But for me, my bigger issue with him is not him as a romantic interest. It's him as, you were my best friend. I feel very
Yeah.
betrayed by Gale, personally. Because when we read this in the first book, she talks about how Gale is her person, her best friend. She says it. We don't have anything romantic. And it's her perspective, not his. So
Yeah.
if we had gotten his perspective, maybe we would have felt differently, or me. But for me, I'm looking at it through Katniss, where I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, we never had any of this. Why are you so mad at me? I don't know what to do. I'm scared, and you're just scaring me more. I'm just trying to make us survive, and you're literally trying to get us killed. Like, so the way I look at it is just like, do you have just 1 ounce of selflessness in you? Can you just take a look at the whole fucking thing and be like,
I don't think he does.
but that's a problem.
In a negative way.
And I think Peeta is completely the opposite, which caters more to
much.
make you right. I absolutely agree, because
much.
in Catching Fire, he says, like, I don't have anyone to go home to. And it's like, if I was his brother watching that, I'd be like, what about me, bitch? You don't give a fuck about
You're
me?
not shit.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think it, on the flip side,
Yeah.
would hurt Peeta. Not to me, but to to anybody who doesn't agree with him. So all in all, Gale to me is a piece of shit in the
Yeah.
second book, and the way he closes out the third. Because the third book he was pretty okay in. There were moments, but ultimately he does stand by her side when he figures out that she's gonna go and like
I think
run
that-
away. He's like, me too.
Yeah, I can understand your disappointment of Gale at the end of him not saying anything and like just like leaving, and that's
He
the
just
end of
basically
his
is
story.
like, well, fuck it.
Yes,
How many years of friendship for you to say, well, fuck it?
I think that because I relate to his personality, I know that I feel like his personality is never going to be able to be like, I'm sorry.
But I don't need that from you. I just need you to understand a little piece.
I don't
something.
think he can.
But
But I don't. But I think that he looks at like my end goal was achieved.
right, but at my
And
expense.
and it does suck that it's at your expense, but I can't form the words to tell you that.
But
So I'm
find
just
them.
going to walk away.
Find them.
How many people, you and I not, but how many people can I think of in my life that would rather lose my relationship?
And I know that. And I've been
Right.
on the receiving end of that too.
Yeah,
But
like they'd rather lose the relationship because they think they've lost you instead of fighting for you.
right. But it's like, for me, I don't even need you to fight. I just need you to acknowledge something.
They can't.
Something. But do it, because I can do it.
But they can't.
Then fuck you.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. The thing is that.
The thing is that.
I mean,
But I love both our perspectives.
Yeah.
And I think that
I don't think you're wrong.
they're great. I don't think you're wrong either.
I think it's just looking at it through two different
Agreed.
lenses.
100%. So now that I feel like we've gotten our very specific point of view in regard to Gale, I want to talk about how fucked up this environment is.
Let's do it.
Because I think that you don't, like, it's almost like you sit here, right? And you look at the scenario in your mind and you're like, oh my God, these poor kids, they're being sent to an arena. Okay, let's win in the arena. Like, I don't think anyone sits back and they're like, these are kids.
Mm-hmm.
These are kids.
Well, I think it gets even, and this is, again, amazing Suzanne Collins, the way that she's like, Rue. The way she describes Rue. And then Katniss reflects and she's like, she reminds me of Prim. And in the beginning of the book, Prim is a little girl. She's chiquitica. She's scared. Like, she doesn't know anything. And the little ducktail thing. And so it's like, without even saying it, she does it.
She does it.
But you're right. It's like
We're
I think
desensitized.
when you read the book and when you watch the movie are two different things, of course. Because you're reading Katniss talking about, like, Rue and how small she is and how she has a crush. And, like, you know, how she's like, is yours and Peta's thing for real? And you're just like, girl, no, obviously not. But she's just like so little and you can't even tell.
I know.
So I think that the writing kind of like subconsciously puts it there for you.
Well, that's why the writing is so good.
Amazing.
That's why the writing is so good. Because you're like, here thinking like, you're reading this story, you're seeing this main character, you're like, holy shit, like, she has to survive. She has to do this. She has to do that. But then when you I feel like you have to reread it for it to really hit you.
I agree.
To be like, wait a minute. Like, I think what really hit me was how disgusting Capital citizens acted towards the games.
Yes.
To me, that's when I realized, I'm like, they look ridiculous. They're only caring about the fashion. They're literally parading these kids to get to know them like a dating show.
Yeah.
And they're going to die. Like,
I think that the prequel with Snow.
So I started it.
Okay.
And
Are you liking it?
I love it. I love it so far.
Don't tell me anything.
Okay.
Because I haven't read it. I saw the movie, but I know that it's
You saw the movie?
Yeah, hace año.
Dios, yo ni sabía que había una película.
Yeah.
Damn.
It was not.
Right.
It was mid. But in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
The book is good.
In that movie, it's kind of goes through Snow making the games like where the Capital citizens were like, we don't want to watch this shit, to them liking it at the end. So I'm assuming that all of this, like their kids, has gotten desensitized as they've made the games more and more and more and more flagrant. Is that if that's the word?
And it's almost like what I think about, right, is how often even in our day-to-day life we'll watch like a scary movie or
but we know it's fake.
But it
you know
doesn't desensitize.
But do you know what's a
like
good comparison
action.
to this? True crime.
Correct.
Which is
That's
all the rage.
It's literally
And
all
by
the
the way,
rage.
I'm
I'm here for it.
Yep.
I feel like, okay, I've had a hard time with it recently.
Same. I've dialed back a lot, but
yes.
I had a good couple of years where I was
that
like,
was
all I would consume.
Like, right, we're talking serial killers, we're talking like fucking torture chambers, whatever the hell. And you know, like I promise you, I'm a normal human.
Same.
Like I'm like totally sane, and I can.
And
like,
these are real things that have happened.
these are real things that happen. But
and
felt
it's
like
a huge environment.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people like it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's almost like all the. Let me not go there. But I think we can find questionable things online.
Of course.
You know, like, okay, like the cop videos of people getting stopped, or like even like, I think YouTube had a huge, what's it called? Like spike on like catching pedophiles. And like at
That's
first,
a good point.
yes,
That's
like
a good point.
and like you're sitting here and you're getting all this content,
Right.
And like most people that view these channels, there's nothing wrong with them. Like they're not pedophiles. But then you think to yourself, like, why am I so comfy like watching all this shit?
Right.
And it is horrible shit.
Yeah.
But we are desensitized to it. Like el día de mañana, I'm gonna get a note from my mother-in-law, which loves to tell me her news, and I'm gonna get this person died here. Don't go out here. And then I'm going to be like, oh, okay. These are the list of places I need to avoid. Let's move on and make muffins for breakfast. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think of that in a real life. And I genuinely think that, like, she did such a great job of outside looking in. You're like, these Capitol citizens are disgusting.
Do you know what inspired the Hunger Games?
No.
Suzanne Collins, her father was, I don't know in what war, but in a war. He was in the military. And she was a little girl, and she said that they were watching the TV, and they flipped the channel, and it was news coverage of the war.
Okay.
And children, I think maybe there was children in that, maybe there wasn't. And they flipped the channel again, and it was something else, like, unrelated to that. And she was like, I was so, like, as she was like, as I've grown, you know, I look back and I'm like, why did that not affect me? Why did flipping the channel to news coverage of, like, death and all this shit, like, why was that so normal to just have that on one channel and the next channel cartoons?
Yeah.
So that exactly is what she was trying to portray.
She did it perfectly.
I agree.
Because I think I called Carla, or I sent you like a million voice notes, and like I had like a whole breakdown like a week and a half ago, I think it was, that I told you how much like it affects me when there is like news about children or abuse or pedophilia or whatever the hell, right? And how much like I hear these stories and like I will cry. Yeah. I will like emotionally feel distraught, so much so that like my family, my husband, they're just like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know how you're not reacting this way, right? But then I would be lying to tell you, like, if the next day I still don't have to wake up and like do my life. You get me? So it just goes back to this idea how as humans we compartmentalize. It is this idea of like, I'm in so much pain hearing this story, and everybody's answer to me is like, don't watch the news. But then I'm sitting here like, but it's still happening. And my mind knows that.
That's so crazy because I was just on TikTok doom scrolling. And I'm pretty into history. And there was this one TikToker who I think she's a history teacher, and she talks about a lot of things. And somebody had left a comment on one of her things talking about Elizabeth I, and they were like, oh, do you think that she reacts like this to this situation because of her trauma? And that creator made a video, and she was like, okay, trauma back then did not exist because
we didn't have access to it.
She was just like, the lives they had were traumatic from beginning to end, basically.
True.
So there is no time to be like,
a break.
I'm traumatized. Like, you know, like,
let me go to therapy.
That's just what it was. Like at 14, they were on battlefields and they would get arrows in their faces and like crazy shit would happen.
Yeah.
That did not allow the space for like, this is trauma.
Yep.
So it's interesting that like we're even on that topic because it's like, it's true. Trauma is kind of a luxury, if I'm being honest. Like you know feel what? That when you have the space to feel it. But when you're living in life and death situations constantly, like in the Hunger Games, she didn't have any trauma. She was just surviving.
It wasn't until after when she was
space
left alone in District 13, wandering these halls, where she was like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
I hate myself.
Even in Catching Fire.
I hate everything.
She has her nightmares, but she's like functional, keeps it moving because she's like, my sister, my mom, my this, I need to
There's
hunt.
something you need to do.
You know, like there's things, even though she didn't need to hunt anymore, she was like, well, I'll give it away to somebody else. Like I need to do what I need to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until she had peace
time
where she was able to hide an event and just like lose her mind kind of thing.
Yeah. But even then shows like the complexity of the human mind and the ability to compartmentalize.
She does such a good job with this writing.
Oh my God, this writing.
It's amazing,
Suzanne.
dude. And if you look at Haymitch and how he processed his trauma, or if you look at
Haymitch. Oh my God.
What is it? Bolts and wire? Do you want to call them? Bolts and nuts?
Bolts and nuts.
Some shit like that. When you look at BD and Wirus.
BD,
the way that Wirus, how she handles the trauma. Or if you look at Finnick, like he looks like he has no trauma. And then you see him in Mockingjay and it's like, oh my God, this whole time you've been a disaster. If you look at Annie's like the way that people manifest their traumas in this book is so amazing.
Yeah.
And then Katniss, who is so one-dimensional with her thinking.
Yeah.
She's very black and white. There is no gray in her
Very.
mind. Right, wrong,
And it's
smart, dumb.
Yep.
And when she looks at Haymitch, she's like, you're a disaster. You're an idiot. You're this. You're that. And there comes a point where she's like, is this why he drinks so much?
Oh, this is a reflection. When I remember when I started reading the beginning of Catching Fire, and she was like in the depths of her bullshit. No, sorry, in Mockingjay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like doing his thing, and I had this thought of like, she sees him. Mm-hmm. She finally sees him. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, like, fuck. You know?
It's amazing how, with so little words, with even Joanna, we barely see much of Joanna.
I am a Joanna fan.
And you have one moment where you see what Joanna has been through when she's, after Katniss has heard all the birds chirping and Finnick, and Finnick is like, how do you think they heard their voices? It was, they tortured them. And he does like, relax, remember what they do. They interview the families. It couldn't have happened. And then Joanna's like, I'm going to go get you water.
No one
and
else.
then Katniss, even though she's like, I fucking hate this girl, she's like, I don't even want my enemy to feel what I'm feeling right now. She's like, don't. And she's like, don't worry. I
don't
no
have
one
anything
left.
else.
Yeah. They can't hurt me anymore.
To hurt me with. And I'm like,
or I fucking love Joanna. Even when Katniss and her are training in Mockingjay, because this is what doesn't happen in the movie.
Oh my God, and she gets left behind.
Because why? Because they at the final test was to test your biggest weakness, which brilliantly for Katniss was her inability to follow orders. And this girl is so smart that she's able to realize, like, wait a minute, I know what's going on. This is a test because I never listen. They're trying to see if I'll listen.
I need to listen.
I will.
Yes.
This one time.
I know.
And with Joanna,
So
they had tortured her so much with electricity. I think they shocked her.
With water, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But then she gets like, I think that it was that they shocked her. Am I wrong?
I think that they flooded the street in the scenario.
Yes. And then it sent her into one of her like manic episodes because of that. And it's like you see Joanna as such a strong figure, such a little bitch, like doesn't ever give.
She experienced in the Capitol, she was soaked and electrocuted.
There we go.
Right.
A mixture of both.
Yeah.
So you see her as so like defiant, so like, I'm a badass. I don't give a shit. You shouldn't be the Mockingjay. I should be the Mockingjay. And like, mean. And that's obviously a defense mechanism.
Totally.
And then you finally see her lose her shit when she's not able to go because of that.
Oh my God.
And that, I pictured it without her even saying it that she lost it. I pictured her losing it in like a street flooded with water. And
broke my
I
heart.
think it's just so brilliant
my heart.
how Suzanne was like, everybody has trauma, all of these people, and they show in different ways because it's true. Trauma shows itself in different ways.
This scenario is so fucked up. Mm-hmm. The environment that she wrote is so raw.
Absolutely.
I feel so raw
and realistic.
Realistic.
Because it happens.
Because it happens.
All over the world.
Because we do it
so
every
many
day.
war zones.
Because we do it every day. We sit here with our... I'm going to get a little bit political for a second.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this. We sit here with our iPhones and like a glass of wine, and I'm sitting here and I'm talking about this, and I can still say like how heartbreaking it is to hear these stories, but I don't live it. Mm-hmm. And even if I had lived it, because we've talked about immigration and our families and our Latin trauma, really, right? Like in third world countries and like what we have come from. Mm-hmm. And there's still people living it.
Yeah.
There's still people living it. And we're sitting here like...
Yeah, and it's sad because it is, honestly, it is a painful part of our history where, whether you have family there or not, whether you can relate to this or not, it's real. And it's happening in many places in the world. And you and I
so many places
get AC and unlimited food and water if we make enough money to buy it. And even if you're not making a lot of money, you can still survive. And there's places in this world where you can't find things.
You can't. And so it's funny because I bring this up as the environment of this subject. Mm-hmm. Because I think to myself, I'm reading this and I'm like, fucking capital citizens.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. You're fucking like leopard
with
fur.
Their fucking stupid hair.
And their stupid plastic surgeries. And like, why the fuck are you turning green? And there's these kids dying.
Why do you look like a tiger, bitch?
Oh god. And they like all these districts that are like starving and dying and upset. But then I realized like it was almost like a thought, like an epiphany of like, aren't we all kind of doing that in first world countries?
In a way, you're right. Yeah,
and like I'm not here to like bring guilt to anybody or like make you feel guilty or myself. But it's almost like we hear about disasters. And we're like, I'm going to pick up Starbucks tomorrow. And I hate to say this out loud. It's true, though. When I say it, I'm like, this is horrible. But she wrote exactly what human complexity it is, because you do not get to choose where you're born.
But can I say something about that?
Yeah.
It's how you were like, you know, we hear about these disasters and then we're like, I'm going to get Starbucks tomorrow. And then that circles back to Gale being like, fuck the Capitol, and Katniss being like, okay, but it is what it is. Like,
correct. It's a chronic stress. It's a chronic, it's a cycle. You hear trauma. You get used to trauma. You get desensitized to trauma, but you're not living the trauma in this moment. So you're like, I'm going to go get Starbucks.
Okay, let's go kill some turkeys, is what she's like. Okay, yes,
There's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
Which is, unfortunately, what my mom says to me all the time when I call her crying about like the next news story about some child getting abused or whatever. And she's like, but what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I don't know. I was hoping you have the answer because you're like older. And she doesn't have an answer. So then the only thing you get to do is like, just go back to your life. And it's
and the way that she has able to bring this thought out of you just
I know.
A dystopian book. And this is why I struggle with the idea of reading another dystopian book, because I'm just like, I just don't think you can do for me what she did. All of these theories and these themes and these ideas and these backgrounds that Suzanne Collins gave me, like, who's going to give me that?
I know. No, I agree with you. And I feel like I feel like this was such, it's that I reread it as an adult and I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Can I... When we were chatting about this, you had mentioned how you think you would survive the Hunger Games. Can we just...
I'd fucking win. Can
I just say, I would be the first one dead.
Really?
I'm not a fast runner. I don't know how to use any weapon.
Yes, but you have like strategy.
Yeah, but my strategy is run and hide, and then I'm going to starve to death. So what then? And I can't climb up a tree like Katniss. Like, how am I going to, when the careers come looking, if it was just like,
I love this segment. So
hours,
would you survive the Hunger Games?
Would you survive it? Because I wouldn't.
I think I would.
I would not.
I would.
By the way, the Hunger Games was a lot longer in the book, which we already talked about it. It took how many weeks? Like 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't think it was that long.
Because like to be emaciated, you have to be starving for a while.
Was it longer then?
I think it was around 2 weeks. Google it and see what I don't know if this has been confirmed or not. But mira ver if you can find out how long it took, because Foxface was emaciated.
We know that
was Katniss.
We know that the second Hunger Games was
18 days, right?
18 days. The 74th Hunger Games. We know that the 75th one was way quicker. So they're saying that the 18 days in the first book, 9 days in the second, in the 75th, which makes sense because when they were talking about the second time she gets into the Hunger Games, that shit was quick.
Yes, absolutely.
That shit was like, absolutely, we're here to kill them all and move on.
So that's like 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
Okay, that tracks. I thought that they did kind of mention it was like like 2 weeks, más o menos.
Yeah.
So
she's
not in there.
Trauma. That
2 weeks. I can't survive that shit. I could survive. I can't. I don't. Listen, if it comes to being like vicious, I can do what it takes, but I have poor upper body strength because I'm a dumbass. I don't have any survival skills. I don't know how to use a sword, a dagger. I mean, I know how to use a knife to cut fruits and carne and all that stuff, but like, I don't know how to stab people or throw it.
Yo
estoy ahí para comer. Yo te puedo cocinar algo, but I can't survive this. I don't know how to use anything. I don't even know how to use a gun. I don't know how to use a single weapon. I don't know how to make a fire with sticks. I don't know how to climb up a tree. I don't know how to like hide. I can't camouflage myself. Like, I would be a sitting duck. I can run away. I could do that. I can hide in a cave.
Okay.
But like distilling water, how do you get clean water? I can't differentiate that shit. I would drink whatever water. Eating, I can't hunt anything. I can't hunt an animal. I don't know what berries are poisonous or not. I'd be like, I mira una fresa. I'd eat it and I'd be dead. Like I can cook with food that's there for me to cut and like with the stove. But just me, myself being like, let me make a fire. I don't fucking know how to do any of that shit.
So this is what I'm going to say. I am it's so funny because I feel like in my regular life, I doubt myself more often. And it's so funny that when I read this book, I'm like, I can win this.
Like, idiots.
It's like, idiot. Like, why'd you do that?
I can't believe you fell for that.
I can't believe you didn't get your bow right away. Like, whereas, here's my thing. I feel like, I guess a lot of my, how do I say this? A lot of my, what's that word? When you're like, I guess a lot of my confidence is coming from the place where I think I would learn anything I needed to in the training.
Well, I don't know. I think they were in there for like a few days. Right?
I think so. But I mean, like, if you're really thinking about it realistically, I've never set a fire. I'm not going to learn in 3 days. But a part of me is like, yeah, I got that shit. Like, I'm going to set a fire. I'm going to. Also, though.
What I would say is I wouldn't be the first one to die.
Yeah.
I'd probably be.
Like 5. 5 to 10.
Okay, realistically, what I would probably do if I had a mentor that was like, don't run towards the cornucopia, I would run into the woods and I would look for somewhere to hide. And the thing is, like, I'm really good in an emergency where like everything freezes, it slows down for me.
Yep. And move.
I'm like, think. So I would be good at that. But when it comes to the logistics, if this was 5 days long, I could survive that. Because I think you can go 5 days without eating, right? I think it's
7 days.
Okay, I could do that.
As long as you have enough water. I don't think you can go longer than 3 days without water.
If I found a stream, I'd be okay.
I would hide. If it's like not like.
No, if it's poisonous, then I'm dying. But if it's like clean water, I'll be okay.
She won't know the difference.
If it's about lasting. But here's the other thing: the game makers would be like, "This bitch is boring. Flush her out," and I would die because I'm not fast. If they send fireballs after me, they're gonna get me.
The way you describe yourself though reminds me of Foxface.
But Foxface knew what. Like she was like.
She was just
she
sneaky.
saw where they put all the bombs, and she was like, "Ding, ding, ding." I'm dumb.
Because
I'd
she's
be like,
chismosa. No,
you'd
be
field.
super chismosa. You'd be like, I know where they put what where.
Not if it's life and death. If it's life and death, and I see these big motherfuckers, I'd be like, me fui. Like I would book it. I would put like a straw underwater and be like, in the stream, not giving a fuck what they're talking about. I'm extremely chismosa, pero not like that.
I think you would do a fuck face.
I think I could survive for a while. I don't think I would make it to the end. Because if it takes too long, the fucking nature is going to take me. También había tremendo frío por la noche. At nighttime, it was super cold.
It was.
And she saved herself because she got, bless you, the little book bag. I would have been like, fuck that book bag, me fui. And I would have just been hightailing it the fuck out. So I would have frozen to death.
That's a lie. I would have ran straight.
Bitch, I know you would have been like foo, 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 into the cornucopia.
Do I run fast?
You see her.
Do I have the balls that I have no right to have?
No, you guys see her be like, "Hi guys," but Alejandra don't play. Like she'd be like, "What?
Run up!"
She would have been like, "This is my fucking sword," and like booked it the fuck out of there.
I don't have to use this, but I'm gonna.
You would have been running, and some bitch would have been in your way. You'd be like, "Y tú también," and just like kept going. Me, the pussy, would have been like into the fucking trees with no book bag, nothing. And maybe like, "No, bitch, ven tú," and just like waiting for you in a tree or something. And we would have gotten in a fight as soon as she got in the woods. Because I'm like, "You're so fucking annoying, Alejandra. Why would you go do that?
Why'd you fucking run?"
I'd be like, "What'd you get though? Let me see."
Do we have snacks?
Is there any food in there?
Is there any wine?
Oh my god, did you get wine?
Okay.
She would have been like, "I got a sword." I'd be like, "Ay, basura. What else did you get?" But yeah, survival-wise,
I think, okay.
Dead over here.
I think I'm overly confident. So I will say this because I'm sure someone's going to look at this and be like, this bitch can't hang. Which could be true. But I do find myself, first of all, I might have done all the wrong things though. I think I would only survive based on sheer will. Mm-hmm. Like one, I would have totally ran at that cornucopia. I know I would have. I would have been like,
I would have run the other way.
I need to run towards it. However, on the 75th Hunger Games, when there was water, nah. I cannot. I know that I can't. Like, if that would have been my environment from the get-go, I would have swam
Do
the
you
other
want to
way.
know? I would have been like a little mermaid
Swimming away.
and then be like I know I can swim, and but
Yeah.
like I can't like breath.
No.
When my mom, you always used to be like, "Tú no sabes cómo nadar." My mom would always be like, "You don't know how to swim," and I'd be like, "What are you talking about? Watch, mommy." And I go bloop 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 bloop, bloop under the water. She'd be like, "Are you stupid? That's not how you swim. First of all, you don't uni tu pie, like you know how you say put your legs like this."
Like a mermaid?
Yeah, you don't do that when you're swimming. That's how what I would do when I was little.
That's cute, though.
But that's why she was like, "You can't swim," and I was like, "Mom,
Fair.
watch." So I think I could survive the water because I know how to swim. I
wouldn't have.
Unless there's waves.
It's so
if there's
funny.
waves, I'm dying.
I think there was.
Was it?
Well, maybe not
I
that
thought it was
much.
just like regular.
Okay. I think I would have survived the first Hunger
I could dog and
Games.
paddle. I could be like,
Yeah, well, that would have been me though. Like I
You
would
don't know
have
how to swim at all?
survived.
I mean,
No, I know how to swim. Like I'm not gonna
like in
drown.
the
but like if
deep
it's like
of the pool in the deep part, you can swim.
I can swim.
You would've
But
been
if
fine.
I have to like what I'm saying, like I feel like if I would have been in the 74th Hunger Games and I had to run, I would have run. If I
Yeah.
showed up on the 75th one and to get to the cornucopia I had to swim, I ain't gonna do it.
But you're gonna come with me that way. I'm not
Right.
going to the cornucopia, bitch.
Oh yeah, like on the 75th,
Wait a
I would
minute,
have been
hold on.
running towards the jungle.
You know what? This
On
would
the
have been a
74th,
moment
I
where
would have run. to
if
the
I was
cornucopia.
Katniss, I would have gone to the cornucopia because it would have been a freeze and see, and I would have been like, y'all can't fucking swim. I can swim, and I would have been like, bink, 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 but grab and run.
Candace does swim.
Some people
You're right.
can't. Candace can swim because her dad taught her how to
her.
swim in a
Yeah.
stream. Peta couldn't swim.
No.
Finnick could swim because
course,
he's from
he was from
District
District
2.
4.
4?
Yeah.
No, I don't know where he's from. Yeah,
I
no,
think
he's
it's
4.
4.
2 is the one with the nut. They're the one that
Yeah.
have the, they make the peacekeepers. I probably would have felt more confident in District 4. By the way, I'm not a strong swimmer.
Yeah, he's
I
in
grew
District
up
4.
swimming in water because we're on the coast. But I feel like very confident in the water.
Yeah.
Not if there's a riptide, not if there's waves, but if it's just water, I know how to swim. I would have probably felt more confident with the cornucopia that has water than just run. I'm not a
That's
fast runner.
so funny because I would have ran.
Well, you
Like,
would
I
have
would've
waited for
swam
me in
away.
your bosque.
Yeah,
And
we
I
would have
been
switched
like,
up.
Mira, bitch, I got these things. No fuimos.
I fucking love this because I generally feel like I would have won the first ones, but I would have ran away the second
No,
one.
I think
And you
honestly,
feel
I
the
feel more
opposite.
comfortable. Hi. I feel more comfortable with the second one than I do with the. I don't. The fuck am I gonna do there? Yo tampoco no sé cómo pescar. I'm not a fisher, so I.
No,
food
ahí
would've
vamos
been
a
problem
pasar
for me.
hambre. Ahí vamos a pasar
Food
hambre.
would have always been a problem for me. But as far as
Yes.
surviving in terms of like not starving or like, I don't know what the term is for like dying of thirst, but in terms of that,
Dehydration.
that would have been a problem for me. But as far as like survival with like killing and like running away in the first Hunger Games that we saw, I would have died.
Yeah.
In the second one, I would have been good.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't think I would have survived the second one.
No, we would have survived together.
Well, true.
The problem would have
Yeah.
been at the end because
Husky.
I would not
Go.
have killed you, honestly. So I would have just
Wait,
been like,
well-
the elements can take us or you could take me because I
I'm
don't want
not
that on
gonna
my
do it.
conscience.
That's funny because I think that I don't know, like
I think I really
I
would have
have
just been
no
like, I'll wait
skills,
this
by the way.
out or you could do it.
I would have. I have no skills going into this, but I feel like I could win just out of sheer will. Like,
But that says something. Because I really do think if it's like the second Hunger Games where it was so much shorter, I really don't. I think that was maybe like 4 or 5 days.
yeah, they said it was like 7.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think if it's like a week, I could maybe survive a week. I cannot survive 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks without food or water. I
well,
can't.
think about it this way though, because it was also a lot shorter because they were seasoned killers in a way.
Right. Okay, good point, good point. But I feel like if in Catching Fire, it was a different situation where you would have had allies no matter what. Because in the first one, it was the careers and then everybody fend for yourself.
True.
In the second one, it was like, I don't know, let's say for some miracle of fate, kind of like Annie. Annie survived the Hunger Games because there was a flood and she knew how to swim.
Yeah.
That's the only reason she survived. So, but if she had already been friends with these people for so long, if it was like that, I think I would have been able to make an alliance with some people and convince them by lying that I was resourceful. And then I would have been okay until it ended.
Yep.
And then the Capitol would have taken me, or District 13. But if it was just for me...
Someone would have taken me.
somebody would have been like, let me take that bitch. I don't know who. Whoever I was closest to would have been like, pobrecita. But everyone else...
I hope that, like, I love that for you, though, because I feel like anyone would have seen me and be like, y está pesada. I'm not taking her.
No, honestly, I think I would have been very Katniss in the sense where I would have been like, this is what it is. I'm not trying to make waves with the Capitol because they're going to kill everyone I love.
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
I think the Capitol would have been like, I can use this bitch.
Funny, though. Like, okay, so I think I would have won. You think you would have won. I want to say a funny thing.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't think any of my siblings would have won either.
I know none of my siblings
okay.
would win. If I can't win,
that's what I was saying. I was saying, like, I could win, but none of my siblings could have won. So that makes me feel better.
Yeah. If I die, we all die.
I'm the best. Just kidding. So what did you think about the fact that she had to go back a second time?
I was devastated.
I know.
I felt so deeply for her. I want to see if I have any notes on this because I think I might. I felt so desperate for her.
I literally thought to myself, like, de esta no sale. De esta no sale. Because
so when I first read it, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. This reread, I was just so, like, almost depressed for her. Like, I was like, my God, it is just your destiny to be in these games. It's just like, even when you escape the first one, they bring you back. And then even in the third book, it's another set of games. And she says it. She's like, we're still playing.
We're still playing this game. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, goosebumps. Because it reminds me of the ending where she's like talking to her baby. And she's like, I play this game where I remind myself of all the things that people have done. And she's like, it's tedious, but there are worse games to play. Insinuating the Hunger Games. So it's like...
Well, I do want to say something about that because I think even in, like, the work that I do professionally, which I'm not going to talk about, but in the sense that, like, I think it's the perfect example of what someone with mental health needs to go through. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people think, like, oh, I have trauma, or I have this, or I have that, and, like, I'm just going to show up to a therapist and I'm just going to talk about my problems. Mm-hmm. And I always call bullshit on that. And no one that works with me is my biggest fan because I'm here to tell you, like, if you're going to show up to the session and you're just going to talk to me about how you feel, you're not going to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. The work that someone that has trauma, PTSD, whatever the hell, has to do is in the day-to-day game of your mind. Mm-hmm. You have to play mind games with, like, this is my initial reaction. This is a negative or harmful behavior I want to do, and I can't do it because A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
It is a mind game. So for Suzanne to add into this, like, such a huge scope of psychology was, like, amazing.
And that's actually, I don't have any professional experience with that, but I do have a lot of experience with situations, traumatic situations and people who have survived that. And one of the things that I've noticed and has been, like, a pretty big theme, it's that, like, you need to try. Like, you need to want to help yourself. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make you drink. You have to try. It can't just, I can give you all the tools, but if you internally will not do it, I can't do anything for you.
Nothing.
And that's one of Katniss's
biggest
flaws.
Yeah.
Is that she wants to die.
She doesn't want to do it.
In the second book, in the first one, she's surviving. She's like, I need to survive. In the second one, as soon as she makes her peace with, I'm going to be reaped, she's like, and now I die. Yeah. And that's it. And that's how she's been from the second book to the end of the third book. Yep. From beginning to end, she's just like, I don't want to live. Correct. And she has no effort in the third book to get better. No. She doesn't care. She doesn't want to. She wants to die.
The only goal she had was to save PETA, and she didn't, so fuck this. Yep. It's literally what she did. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. You have, and there's nothing anyone can say to you when you've decided you don't give a fuck.
Yep. When you've given up,
When you've
nobody
given
can
up,
fix that for you.
nobody can fix it. There's no therapy in the world that's going to convince you until you start the little voice in your head that says, like, perhaps I can care again. Perhaps I can try. And so I think it's so crazy that she added that idea of, like, I'm here because I play these mind games that reminds me of why I'm here.
Yeah.
I thought that was epic.
I mean, the writing is just, oh my God, it's the levels.
Yeah.
I don't know how she managed to add so many elements into like one story.
Yep.
Because it touches so many different parts. I mean, it touches like family, relationship bonds, trauma,
survival,
grief, survival, self-deprecation,
making the wrong decisions,
making bad decisions, making good decisions, living with the decisions that you made, the good ones and the bad ones, the ones that have led to good and to bad.
bad things happening to good people.
Bad things happening to good people, bad things happening to bad people like Cato, and like still finding the grace for Cato, where it's like he was a victim of his circumstances. It's not his fault. He was born into District. What was it? District 2?
I think he was
born into District 2. It's not his fault he was born there. It's not his fault that he was raised with the idea of being
he was District 1, yeah.
District 1.
Yeah.
District 1, 2, 4.
I think it was 1, 2, 4.
Those are the careers.
Mm-hmm.
And he was raised to believe that this was
an
his
honor.
destiny. It's an honor. And even, how about Shimmer and Gloss? I think that's their name.
Glimmer.
Glimmer and Gloss? Glimmer and Gloss?
Yes.
Okay, so that's their names, Glimmer and Gloss?
No, it was Gloss and Cashmere.
Cashmere. Okay.
That was fucking horrible.
Glimmer and Gloss. Glimmer and Shimmer.
It didn't get better.
Glimmer and
Cashmere.
Cashmere. Gloss and Cashmere. I'm sorry, these names throw me off, right?
Gloss and Cashmere.
Okay, they are District 1. They are siblings, and they volunteered back to back. Like, it's indoctrination. It's not even Cato's fault that he was the way he was.
No.
And even Cato, you see the breakdown. That he's like
running from
from
hell.
And he's just desperate, and you can see that he's just like resigned himself to like, this is my destiny, this is just what's happened. And then he even is like, fuck this shit. Like he like, you see him being like desperate in the book towards the end. And and it's just the way that she implemented so many different themes, and they all came together within how many pages? Like 300, 200 per book?
That was the thing.
That was
insane. Like that each book was 300
I have read
and something.
600 page
I have
books
read
and taken
600,
not
800,
a
not
single
one
positive thing from it. Violet. I will always come back to her.
Because I was about to say Quicksilver.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, but here's the thing. I feel like the part in which you recognize that she gives up and what is the first thing that she does?
Comatose.
And she goes straight to Haymitch. And she's like, don't fuck with me.
Oh,
you
you're
better.
And
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, when she goes straight to Haymitch.
You better keep PETA alive. Mm-hmm. Do not fuck with me. Mm-hmm. But PETA shows up saying the same thing. We have not even touched PETA or Haymitch.
No,
and I don't even know how to engage
I don't know.
with this.
I think we're going to have to take a lot of pauses for that, because I get very emotional with PETA, very emotional with Haymitch. I don't think in these books Haymitch got enough screen time, so I'm so glad she came out with a different book.
I know.
Where she just goes all about Haymitch.
Because
I think he's a lot deeper than what we see in the books.
1,000%.
And by the way, he's nicer in the movies than he is in the books. In the books,
oh yeah.
Oh, he's mean as fuck. Mean as fuck.
He's so detached.
Mm-hmm. But you can see why. Because when you're looking at what Katniss has been through, you're like, okay, this is how you survive. By being... Katniss has survived by having like immense trauma, just continuing to be a fucking bitch.
But she had a support pool that he never had.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. And she had people to be there for her.
Yeah.
In a way, whether they liked her or not, you know? Mm-hmm. There's okay, so here's my question. Because I do think that you guys are gonna get a part 2, and I think part 2 has to be a lot of PETA and Haymitch.
I agree.
But a kind of in-between conversation. Haymitch complete in agreement of the Mockingjay saying, yes, let's do a Hunger Games of the Capital Kids.
Oh, okay. Well,
Was
I kind of like have a little slight bit of an analysis thought on this.
Yeah,
And I
tell
could be
me.
wrong.
Tell me your analysis.
Okay, so Haymitch. Haymitch, honestly, for me, from the first book, I was like, what are you doing? How much forethought did Haymitch have towards the star-crossed lovers theme? And this was when I was reading the first book. We find this out in, I think, the second book, where Peeta, Katniss and Peeta find each other in the cave, and then she's like, oh yeah, Haymitch has given me these gifts, and he's like, he hasn't given me anything. And she's like, oh, that's weird. And then in the second book, she's like, you were trying to save me? And he's like, yeah. In between Peeta's determination to keep Katniss alive and Haymitch's efforts with like the gifts and stuff like that, he was like, I thought between Peeta and I, we could keep you alive. So yes, I chose you. But when you're reading these books, you're like, where, like, even in Catching Fire, I was like, when did the plot to take them all
When
out
did
of
the
the
plot
arena?
begin? Yes.
When did that happen? And you get an answer too.
Oh,
get an
you do?
answer.
Okay,
Yes.
what's the answer?
So at the end of it, Haymitch is like, from the moment that the Quarter Quell was announced, a conspiracy to get you guys out began. And he was like, couldn't tell you.
Because they were all mad.
Right. Everybody was
Yes.
pissed.
Okay.
And Plutarch, which by the way Plutarch is portrayed beautifully in the films. And in the books, not so much. He's portrayed in a different tone where he's very helpful, but you can tell he has an agenda because the way that he speaks to Katniss is very positive, optimistic. When she's like,
it almost feels like he's
in distress,
so detached.
Exactly.
He's like, this is a game.
Exactly what it is.
The game maker.
Exactly what it is.
Yep.
And so, Haymitch to me was a mystery for a pretty long time. Like I was like,
same.
Where are you going with this shit? You know. And then in the second book, she's like, promise me that you're gonna save Peeta. And I wonder at what point between that, promise me that you're gonna save Peeta, and that conspiracy to like, let's get them all out of the games, did he shift his gears to like, I'm not focusing on Peeta anymore because this is for the greater cause. And another moment between Katniss and Haymitch that really just destroyed me was when they have their first conversation after Katniss is like, how could you do this to me? She says that like they say to each other the most awful things that you could, right? And then in the Mockingjay book, after their first meeting where like, he's like, and that's how you lose a revolution, by having Katniss be scripted. Katniss and him speak to each other for the first time. And Haymitch goes up to her and I'll quote it. He goes, Katniss says, I can't believe you didn't say Peeta. I know, he replies. Now you say it. I tell him, I can't believe you let him out of your sight that night. Says Haymitch. So Haymitch is like, go ahead. And she's like, you didn't save him. And he's like, and you let him out of your sight. So
yes,
through and through.
Yes.
Haymitch is so complex in this.
But that was such a great fucking scene.
It was.
It was
phenomenal. Because it's like, yes, I have a fault in this, but so do you. And it's not fair for Katniss to put it on him or him to put it on her. It's not fair for him because to put it on her. It was all 100%. A bigger picture.
Yep. Oh my God, I love that part.
I know.
And it's so heartbreaking.
It gave me goosebumps.
Yeah,
because
it's not even that I love it. I love it. It's the heartbreak in it.
And they are the only ones that understand what it feels like to see Peeta on the screen. Because when she sees him like that, who does she go for? Haymitch. She looks for Haymitch. And she's distraught when they finally see him, when Peeta's like, Katniss, dead before dawn or whatever. She's distraught after like she sees all those roses in 13 and she's like, he's gonna kill him. And the only one that stays with her in that hospital is Haymitch. And he talks to her and he's like, look.
Useless mother. Go ahead.
Yes. Yep. Piece of shit mother.
Piece of mother.
And
but you know what?
Couldn't even be bothered to understand her.
I love that you put that in there in my mind. Because I genuinely see how complex the whole thing was. Mm-hmm. Because if you're looking at this as in like, Haymitch, what an asshole, you didn't get Peeta. I almost wonder like, why haven't we gotten a book about Haymitch's rebellion? Because it's Haymitch's rebellion. Like
He was a piece.
I think he was a piece, but I think there's so many questions, and I think we should get into conspiracies too, because I feel like who had the connection to 13? How did this come about? How did everybody get on board knowing that they're sacrificing themselves?
That is a good question. Who had the connection to 13?
Who had the connection to 13?
I would say probably Plutarch.
Yeah, no, he was definitely connected, but how? When?
That is the question.
When? Where? Why?
And also, Plutarch, at some point in the book, tells Katniss, like when he first reveals himself, I think it's in Catching Fire, where he's like,
where he gives
oh,
her
I showed you.
He shows her the
Right,
watch.
but when they take him out, he's like, oh, I showed you the watch just so that you know I was your secret ally, but I never thought that you would be in the actual Hunger Games. And then they say later on, like a few sentences later, how the conspiracy for this rebellion and to take everybody out of the field, the Hunger Games Catching Fire field, began as soon as the Quarter Quell was announced that it would be previous victors. So there is like a line that we're not sure how it merged together. How did this rebellion come about? Obviously, Katniss, she lit the flame as the Mockingjay. But
it's so
how
funny,
did everybody... I know. And you know what? I do have a note on that too, how Katniss is... She is only genuinely rebellious.
Yes.
Only in moments of distress
and
emotion
distress.
because she is, as we already went over, conformed herself to what their life is like, but only in the moments where she feels emotional distress does her rebellion come out.
Yep.
I love that about her too.
I know, I agree.
And so Haymitch is very complex. I honestly don't even think it was his rebellion. I think he was a piece of the puzzle.
I can't believe, unless we're missing, I don't think we're missing information, because Haymitch's journey doesn't sound to be like post that. Like it sounds pre-Hunger Games completely. So like I'm almost wondering if Suzanne Collins is like, y'all are missing something I'm going to give you soon.
Well, I do know that Haymitch... he was punished for what he did with the force field.
Yeah.
Because he says it in the last book.
Yeah.
So Haymitch's conflict with the Capitol started when he was in the Hunger Games.
Yep.
Because he used the force field to win. We know that from the games.
Yep.
And then in the last book, Katniss talks to him at some point, and she's like, I think it's when Finnick is talking about what he's been sex trafficked. And he's talking about that and all the secrets he's discovered, which is horrendous. Yeah. And Finnick's death is something I still haven't recovered from, but I don't even want to go into that right now. He talks about all of this stuff. And while this is happening, Katniss is shook to her core.
Yeah.
And Haymitch is next to her, and she's like, is this what happened to you? And he's like, no, the Capitol made an example out of me for my little trick with the force field. So they didn't have leverage to get me to do what they did to Finnick, where Finnick had family and Annie and people that he loved for the Capitol used against him.
That book is going to wreck me.
I know it's going to wreck me.
It's going to wreck me. Okay. This is interesting. I'm very excited to get into the prequels, because I genuinely think that is one thing that she leaves so beautifully confusing. Mm-hmm. Like, how did we get here? How much foresight did he have to the star-crossed lovers?
When I first reread this, was like, did he plan for something more this whole time? And then when Katniss and him speak later on in the book, I kind of was like, okay, so he was just trying to get Katniss to survive because he didn't send shit to Peeta. And then only when that whole like dual victor thing.
He continues to always do the same thing where like Peeta doesn't need training. Peeta knows how to play the game.
But Peeta is very charismatic, very good at being likable, whereas Katniss is the complete opposite. She's not likable. And it's one of the things I love most about her is that Katniss is just through and through herself. And she's like, I don't fuck with this, I don't fuck with that, I am who I am. So maybe you're right, but I always took it as genuinely Peeta doesn't need coaching because he's just good. He's good at the banter with Caesar. He's good at presenting himself as likable, where Katniss needs help with that. She's not an initially likable person.
True. How much foresight did Haymitch have towards the situation is, I think, such a good point, because I feel like it started off with him never training Katniss.
Right. You're talking about in the first book?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he never trained Katniss. We know that he had an idea of what Peeta needed to roll with.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't have known that there was a quarter quell where everybody was going to be mad.
Well, in the first book, absolutely, they didn't know that.
No.
And when I was reading the first book again, because you forget things, and when I was reading this, I was like, when did this star-crossed lover shit begin? Like, how far in advance did Haymitch plan this?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, later on, as you read, you come to find out that Haymitch was like, I picked you to Katniss. Like, he was like in between Peeta's like despair and like determination to keep you alive, and me with the gifts. Like, I thought I could at least let one of you survive. So I was like, okay, but when did that start? Like, was it at what point did Peeta and him talk about like, let's pursue this angle? Because before they separate. Wait. When Peeta was like, oh, I've always had a crush on her, they had already separated, right? Their trainings?
No.
No? Okay,
It was after.
So at what point
That's what I'm saying.
did they
I don't
decide, like,
understand when they decided that
let's
it was,
pursue this angle?
Correct.
And why? Because, like, never in the history of the Hunger Games has that ever been an
two
angle.
people ever survived.
Right. And he
so-
couldn't have known
yeah.
that was a plot.
No. And unless we don't know. Because here's the other thing. Again, it's been a long time since these 3 books were written. So I don't necessarily think we're going to get anything else from these angles. But it begs the question of what we were talking about, right? Like, how far is this and who was the connection in 13? Let's say Plutarch was the connection. Does that mean that, like, he really was the game maker of this whole thing?
Well, I think that brings the question into the new rule change, right? The rule change of, like, who,
2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to let 2 victors from each district, which is so specifically talking about Katniss and Peeta.
Correct.
Because no other tributes have a close relationship. And Katniss even says it, like, when they're writing into the introduction of each district. Everybody is like standalone, and then Peeta and her are holding hands, and she's like, we're the only ones doing that.
Yep.
District tributes never do this.
Yep.
They always stand solitary. So, like, very obviously that was directed towards Katniss and Peeta. So what was the foresight there, and
I don't
why?
get it. Yeah.
Who came up with this idea? And, like, it's so obvious that their plan was like, let's make this romantic for this Hunger Games because the crowd's loving it, and then at the end we're gonna have them flip on each other, and then one kills the other. So whose idea was that? You never get to know whether it was the game maker at the time, which I think his name was Heavensby. Seneca. Oh, Heavensby.
Seneca Crane, I think.
Yeah, Seneca Crane, you're right. And then Plutarch is Heavensby, I think. Plutarch was a game maker, but like an assistant kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's the one that fell into the punch bowl. So, like, could it have been Plutarch that was talking in Seneca Crane's ear? And if so, like, why?
This was a lot. Like, I don't know.
He didn't know what the quarter quell was going to bring because he says it in Catching Fire. He says it word for word. We had no clue that it was going to be
like this whole
previous
thing.
victors.
Yeah.
So,
which is bullshit in my head.
I think it's true.
No, not for him, but I know that Snow did it on purpose.
No, I know Snow did it on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that no one knew but Snow. I think Snow was like, we need to get rid of this bitch. I think from the very beginning when he was like talking to Katniss and he was like, convince me kind of thing that like your love is real. I think that he knew like.
Which, let me segue into that because I think it's important. One of the things that I think, and we're going to have a part 2 obviously, but the dive that I need to dive into Snow. And I'm not a Snow sympathizer. I know that she was getting nervous, but I feel like
you're a Gale sympathizer, so.
I mean, because he deserves it.
He doesn't. Let's not. Okay,
but I feel
so you're
like,
talking about Snow?
Yes. So here's the thing. Snow knew that, but I think that Snow knew he was cooked since the second Katniss came in.
When he said convince me to Katniss, what did you think about that then?
I think he was trying to psych her out.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think that he thought that was going to save them anymore. He knew that there was already rebellions.
So why did he say convince me to her then? What was even the point of that?
To try to keep her in line as much as possible.
But if he was going to kill her anyways, what's the point of that?
Yes, but it's different to kill a beginning rebellion or to kill in the middle of a rebellion.
No,
so I think
but
his
like
goal,
her, what was the point of telling her convince me?
Because that way, instead of her leaning into the Mockingjay, she steps back and she's like, I don't want to be the Mockingjay because I don't want my family to die. Okay. I think He knew that he was losing control because he knew that the districts were already in open rebellion.
So do you think there was any shot of her and PETA convincing him?
No, I don't
agree.
think so.
I agree with that.
I think he knew that this was already shot.
Yeah, I agree with
But
that.
he was trying to keep her in line as long as possible so that he could kill her on the games.
Okay, good point. Because I agree with you. When he said convince me, I was kind of like, I don't really think there's any convincing him.
No.
And then once the quarter quell got announced, I really didn't even think about it until you said it right now. But I think you're probably right. Like, it was a way to
fix
keep
the problem
her in line until she gets killed.
Correct.
I think
because
that's a
he
really
knew
good
that,
point.
okay, I could kill her in the quarter quell. We're going to be fine. We're going to continue on with the capital living lives like this because she's going to die. And even if people saw her as the Mockingay's dead. So, like, se acabó la cosa.
Which, can I say, so he did a good job at pacifying her, right?
Yeah.
So he scares the shit out of her.
Yep.
Tells her, like, I know about the kiss with Gale. So now she's petrified that
Yeah.
Gale's going to die.
Yep.
Right? Scared that her sister, once again, her sister and her mother, which this is like a theme we didn't even get into, and I want to talk about it in our next episode. But I think Prim was destined to die from the very first book because she gets reaped and she cannot escape her
Very
death.
true.
Just like I feel like Katniss was destined to be in games because even when she wins the Hunger Games, she's in the Quarter Quell game, and then she's in
Coin's
the
game.
war game with Coin and
Which, Coin killed... What was the point of Coin killing Prim?
Listen, I don't know. So, okay, when the bomb gets thrown to the kids that are protecting,
The capital kids,
Right.
which makes it seem like it's Snow, which is why they lose the
I
war.
believe that was Coin.
100%.
The second bomb, I think it was Coin, but I cannot understand why. Because, so the capital kids getting bombed makes sense for Coin to get the capital to turn on Snow.
Yep. And
But
it's
then
successful.
who rushes to the kids?
The medics,
The
right?
medics from 13.
Yep.
And who else?
That's it.
Maybe
So-
a few peacekeepers.
My thought
Not
process...
enough to justify a second
second
bomb. So I don't understand what the point of that bomb was.
I genuinely think that the point of the second bomb was so that Prim dies. I do think so. I think...
Why?
How would she know? There's two thoughts. Either she didn't know and she's just trying to take out anybody at this point.
Pointless.
Not really, because you can tell that she's wasteful
In what?
in lives.
Like how?
Because she's not like Snow in the sense that she's calculated as to who dies.
But who has she
She-
wastefully killing that's giving you this idea?
I feel like she is like Gale. That her mindset has always been like,
Okay.
whoever's in the line of sight dies, and I'll ask questions later.
Okay.
So that's my first thought. But like that might be a little too general. That might be a little bit too like there's not enough evidence. So my thought is that her goal was, I know Prim is there, and if and when the Mockingjay is still alive, her sister dies, and now like the Mockingjay is done.
But here's my thing with that. So before that, Katniss it's pronounced that she's dead. Everybody thinks that she's dead, even the capital.
But then they don't.
But the capital
I
doesn't
think that. Yeah, no. The capital comes back saying like these bodies were fake.
right, but just the capital, not District 13.
I think 13 has access to all of those.
But
things.
even if they do, that's like from here to there. They still have blocks to recorrer before they
True.
get to the mansion. And even if she's like, she's going to go to the mansion, how do you know where she's going, first of all? You can assume it's Snow. But even if you assume it's Snow,
Yeah.
how many pods are in between that and Katniss? So how do you know Katniss is going to be there witnessing Prim? And
I don't
how
think
do
she's
you,
gonna witness it.
But how do you know that Katniss is still alive? And how do you know?
I think she's killing off Prim in the hope that Katniss is still alive,
But
and it
why?
will break her.
But who's to say that that breakage of her would make her be subservient? You know, like,
Because it happened. Because she
but
has
it didn't, because
evidence.
she killed Coin.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, Coin has to go off of her past experience evidence, which means that when she lost PETA, she was wandering around District 13, not giving
That's a
a
good
fuck, useless to the
True.
war. She wasn't getting in Coin's way. She was not
But
part
Peter
of
was
Gold.
still alive.
But she didn't know that yet.
She did, because she saw him on. She was hoping. She didn't know.
She was
but
hoping.
Then
She
she
didn't
sees
know.
him and she continues.
Right. But Coin has the evidence that she's going to be useless.
Okay.
So she thinks if I can just kill someone else in her family, she might not be a problem at all. And then I can take over and there's no one that's going to
But
give
don't
me
they still
pause.
need the Mockingjay if she's alive for the whole fucking...
Not if she's fucked up.
I guess. Look, I do think that it makes more sense for it to have been coined than the Capitol. I don't think the Capitol sent the second bombs because it would just be way too quick.
Plus, again, we have
contrived.
foreshadowing with Gale's bomb.
Yes.
Like, that's his whole thing.
I just think it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for her to... How do you even know that Prim is going to be, like, right there? Like, you're sending in medics, but how many medics are there? And, like, who's to say she's going to be on that team? And how do you even know Katniss is still alive? And what, you just killed Prim by accident because, bueno, whatever, I thought your sister was... Like, how do you know? I do think Katniss points it out very clearly, like, Prim was underage. For her to get approved for this, it would have to have been from the top. It makes sense. It just, I think I wish I had more clarity on how that decision was made.
It might be beneficial for us to go back for a second on this one. And we can kind of...
I did analyze this, though.
Yeah.
When I was reading it.
Yeah, no, me too.
It was not clear at all.
It was not clear. I agree.
There's no definitive...
I keep thinking maybe I can go back. But no, you're right. I reread that part a few times so I can, like, make an opinion about it. And it was not definitive. But there's... I think she's using... critical thinking, like
no, I think
so many
Suzanne leaves so much for interpretation,
yeah.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about her writing. But this part, I don't know, and it's like I know my brain tells me it was coin, but the other side that's like make it make sense is not making sense in the terms of like, but how did you know Katniss would be there? How did you know that Prim would die? How did you know Katniss wasn't dead already? And maybe it's what you said, where she was just like a ruthless leader and was like, I don't give a fuck. Kill her. And if Katniss is alive, cool. And if she's not, whatever. Both of them are dead and I don't care. And that very well could be. Because there's many leaders like that, honestly. And that wouldn't make sense.
She gives off those vibes.
She does.
Yeah.
But that was my thing where I was just like, the bomb confuses me because I don't think Snow's lying.
No, I don't think Snow's dying.
I do think
he's dying.
I do think it's like... he very purposefully was poking at her. Yeah. I think he was very much like, think about it. Think about it. It wasn't me. Why would it be me? I don't kill kids por gusto. You know I do it for a reason. Why would I kill my own kids?
But that moment is so... I have to say this part when she finds him in the rose garden. And he's like, but we both got played for fools.
Oh,
or something like that. Or he was like,
I
was watching you, Mockingjay.
And you were watching me.
And you were watching me. And we were both played as fools because none of us were watching coin.
I thought that was masterpiece. I wanted to touch on one more thing before we finish. One of the quotes that I wanted to talk about was, so we were just talking about Snow and how he tells Katniss, convince me, right?
Yep.
And fresh off of that, she's petrified. And she's like, I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to read the script. And the first fucking district they go to, because they're going from 12 and up, is 11. And Peeta's still, unbeknownst to him, the threat that Snow made to her. He's just there and they talk and he's like, maybe we could be friends. And she's like, yeah, that would be great. And then he's like, if you want, I can talk, because he knows what District 11 means to her. And she's like, yeah. So she's quiet. And then she goes and sees the families of Thresh and Rue.
And she couldn't.
And she decides to talk.
She literally, because she couldn't. Her whole plan, she was going to say nothing. She was going to say nothing.
And then she couldn't.
And then she's there and she's looking at these people and their eyes are
and
like.
She just can't. She sees them and she's compelled.
100%.
She's compelled to say something.
A beautifully, like, in the moment
I have
character.
Goosebumps just looking at the quote. So it goes,
tell me.
I want to give my thanks to the tributes of District 11. I say, I look at the pair of women on Thresh's side. I only ever spoke to Thresh one time, just long enough for him to spare my life. I didn't know him, but I'm getting goosebumps over and over again. I didn't know him, but I always respected him for his power, for his refusal to play the games on anyone's terms but his own. Mm-hmm. The careers wanted him to team up with them from the beginning, but he wouldn't do it. I respected him for that. For the first time, the old hunched woman, is she Thresh's grandmother, raises her head, and the trace of a smile plays on her lips. The crowd has fallen silent now, so silent that I wonder how they manage it. They must all be holding their breath. I turn to Rue's family, but I feel as if I did know Rue, and she'll always be with me. Everything beautiful brings her to mind. I see her in the yellow flowers that grow in the meadow by my house. I see her in the mockingjays that sing in the trees. But most of all, I see her in my sister Prim. My voice is undependable, but I am almost finished. Thank you for your children. your children. I raise my chin to address the crowd and thank you for the bread. The children and the bread, which are two signs of rebellion. Because
100%, because this has never been seen before, that a district like that's poor as fuck. Let's mention that. Like, to send anything to the games is a shit ton of money. That's why you need sponsors and whatever the hell. But they sent the bread. So you know that they nickeled and dimed that
everybody, and she says it in the book. She's like, the whole district must have like scoured together money to send me this.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if she says it for this, because I know she says at some point like the cameras must not be showing this right now. I don't know if it was that or when she was talking shit. I think at some point she's talking shit. But the fact that they sent her, District 11 sent District 12 girl bread, when it's usually,
you don't even have the
usually
district send
your mentor
their own. The districts don't even send their own tributes things. And then your children.
And then when she says that, broadcasted live after just being told, convince me, and I know about the kiss by Snow.
She was from 12 to 11 and couldn't hold out.
She was like, okay, I will. Your children. Thank you for your children.
Literally? Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that
was one of the moments that broke me.
Yeah, same.
I cried.
And it's just seeing the families, just knowing that, like, for District 11, it was half an ember that they needed from her.
No, seriously.
Because they were already ready.
Yeah.
They were ready to be like, fuck y'all.
And it's crazy how each of the districts is treated differently, because District 12 is not really
cared for,
or
like bothered in any way.
No, like their fence isn't even electrocuted.
Yeah.
Why is that? And then District 11 is held to like super strict standards, like, and Rue says it like, oh, you can't even take this because you'll get whipped.
Which I wonder then, like, when, and I do know that Snow's book has a lot to do with Dark Age, like the whatever's happening. So I almost wonder what we're gonna learn from the districts, because some districts are fed better than others. Why? Maybe District 11 was buddy with District 13, and they know that the history, you know?
Maybe.
A little segue into what our next episode's going to be, because we've scratched the surface of Hunger Games. In reality, we have to get into Haymitch, a deep dive in Haymitch and Snow and Peeta, because we haven't even touched upon Peeta, that has our
the
hearts.
light of our lives.
Yes.
Peeta is so special. And I feel like he was done dirty in the movies. Like, not in the sense where I think the casting was pretty accurate. Like, I do kind of picture Peeta like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Josh Hutcherson, I think, did a good portrayal of him. But what I don't like is that in the movies, he's a lot more submissive.
Okay.
And muted than in the
Same.
books. Because in the books, Peeta has an attitude.
Yeah. Like, he is a quiet strong.
Yes.
Right? He is a quiet strong. He knows where he has the umph to back it up and when he does not play the games, right? But he's not just sitting by being a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like some of the movie portrayed him as.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that either.
And I like that, like, in the movies, it looks like he's just, like, he is.
Along for the ride. No.
And in the movies, it looks like he's just, like, Katniss can do anything. And in all, he kind of is. But acutely, like, when Katniss shoves him and he breaks a vase and it cuts his hand, he's pissed. Like, he's like, she shoved me. That's what happened when they come up.
Yep.
And then, like, he just professed his love for her on TV, and you know he meant it. But she's like, you made me look weak. And he's like, well, it wasn't even real. And, like, it's like, yes, it was.
Yes,
but he's embarrassed, you know? And, like,
Yeah.
Peeta has spunk, and he gives it back. He's not just like,
oh, yeah. So I agree with that.
You
I
know?
do think that is a big difference in the Peeta character.
I'm excited to analyze Peeta and Haymitch.
So much.
You are excited to analyze Snow.
I am so excited to analyze it. So one thing that I will say is that I did start the prequel, the Snow's prequel, which I think is the Song of Ballads, the Ballad
Songbirds
of
and
Songbirds
Ballads?
and Nisege.
Something.
Algo así.
Google it. We'll talk about it next time.
But I already read a few chapters, and I think that you got a quote spoiler from the reaping of the sun, the Haymitch.
Sunrise on the reaping.
You're not gonna tell me, but
I won't.
And I'm not gonna tell you the
It
first
made
few
me
chapters.
want to cry.
Okay,
But I won't. It didn't spoil anything. It just made me want to cry. And I was like, this book is gonna destroy me.
I can tell that Haymitch's book is gonna wreck me. But with Snow's book, I'm a few chapters in already, and I'm like, oh.
You know what's
icy.
You know what's so good about the Snow prequel and then the Haymitch prequel being the two books that we need to read is that first is the Snow one, right? So we're gonna read that, get his perspective. Maybe we'll gain some empathy for him or not. I don't know. And then Haymitch's, I'm so sure that Snow, he's the driving force in everything, is gonna fuck over Haymitch. So it's like you're gonna come off of this book feeling like Snow, I have this new understanding of you, and then like,
oh shit,
fuck you, bro.
And if you're watching this and you've already read them, don't spoil it for us in the comments, but leave us like quotes or something that's like not a spoiler, but then when we read them, we're gonna be like,
leave a quote that's not a spoiler and don't tell us who says it.
Yeah. Yes. And I bet you if someone is watching this, they're gonna be like, these bitches don't even know.
These dumbasses. Deja que tu wea. And if you can't leave us a comment that's not a spoiler, then maybe just leave one of your favorite like quotes from the trilogy.
Yes.
Because there's so many quotes that we haven't even touched.
So anyways, I think there's so much to talk about.
There is. But we haven't even scratched the surface. But
part 2, or maybe more parts.
Part
but we're going to focus on deep dive of PETA. For in our next episode, we're going to focus on a deep dive of PETA because we have not even gotten to him, which there's so much to say. Definitely Haymitch, 100% Snow. And I know a lot of the side characters that we have a bond that we need to talk through.
Joanna.
But
Effie.
This was a goal, yes, for 2 episodes, but because we're also going to be covering the prequels, by that point we'll be reading both of those. Yeah. Those are the next TBR. We might have a lot more to say, so that might be more than 2 parts. But hopefully, I did want to mention like how gorgeous the special editions
the way
are.
That we're just, because I was like, hopefully they come out with the Haymitch book in a special edition, because look at this.
Yes, but this is, I'm going to have to show them. The special edition done right.
Yes.
Because there are so many authors that's come out with special editions, and I'm just kind of like, this has been 12 years since the first book came out, and they did it right.
I agree.
Because I'm like,
oh my God, beautiful. Look at this. What? Look at the foil. Yes. Do you see the shine? That's beautiful. And then the sprayed edges.
You can see this is like not used.
And like, listen, I was about to say, we're in the middle of a reread and there's not a wrinkle on the spine of any of these.
I have to go through all of them because I'm like,
no, this is stunning.
When I saw this, I was like, this is a special edition done right.
I agree.
This is taking a book that you know the fandom is obsessed with and giving it justice.
Just giving your readers something, you know?
Something to be excited
aside from the literature, because I know that that's something. But this is something where it's like, we were talking about special editions, and it's like, you can take my money if it's this.
Yeah.
But don't give me something, like, I will circle back to Quicksilver. Like, why did you go from a cover that had artwork, which you don't need to like it, right? I know some people don't like the artwork. That's fine. But how do you go? Maybe, I think she did it on, like, CapCut or something.
You can tell.
No, what is it? Canvas? I could be wrong. But I think that she kind of like had a hand in it. But how do you go from like actual art to black with just the words shiny?
That's the thing.
Like, just try. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Callie Hart didn't try, but it doesn't seem like it.
I don't think so.
I'm just saying, like, this kind of stuff, like, I've seen fan-made special editions that are stunning.
Oh my God,
$200 for a Throne of Glass special edition that's beautiful, that I would pay for. But just, like, try. If any author is watching this, just try.
Just give us back something, because you know that we are obsessed with when readers are obsessive when we fall in love with a series. And so, like, and that's what I was saying, like, there's authors giving special editions like 3 years after. This has been 12 years in the making, and they're finally special editions that are worthwhile buying.
And I will take a 3 years later special edition, but make it worth my while. Don't give me some stupid shit.
Gorgeous.
This is beautiful.
This is what I would buy even when I have the old books already.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? But like, if you're just gonna change the color or something, I'm like,
give me something. Give me some beautiful artwork. This has a Mockingjay
so
on
here's
everything.
the other thing that I love, which I know you hate, but even in Rebecca Jarrow's is Fourth Wing. Like, the special edition had a bonus chapter.
No.
So at least that's some.
No, don't do that shit. No.
I love that.
First of all,
it depends.
I'll Google it. I'll Google
depends.
it. I'm going to Google it.
It depends, because here's the thing. I think that she did it in a very tasteful way, whereas we can get into this another time, but Sarah J. Maas, you haven't read The Crescent City, which I cannot believe, guys. I'm going to have to make her do that.
It's the pain of my existence. I don't want to
Crescent City has the third book, and she made 5 different bonus chapters for 5 different purchase options.
Stupid.
So, like, one was in Walmart, one was in Target, one was in Barnes & Noble.
That's
so, tú
stupid.
tienes seeing 5 different books that people are going to buy. Like, be so fucking for real.
That's so stupid.
That I feel like was a cash grab.
That would piss me off.
So, I didn't like that. But, whatever. Anyways, special editions. This is gold tier.
So the
this
point
is what we need.
Amazing. And you know what? If there's any other special editions for any series that, I mean, there's a lot of popular series that are coming out that you guys know of. Maybe you could leave it in the comments.
Yes.
But from what we've seen,
Tell us.
this is probably the most beautiful one.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think I've seen
It's one of my
a better
favorites.
special edition.
No, from a
this.
publisher? No. They did great.
I agree.
So
stay tuned.
catch us here next time. We're going to be in the Hunger Games world for a bit.
Yeah.
At least, I promise, episode 2, there might be 3rd.
I think it'll be 2 more.
Yeah.
But
Damn, okay. Yeah,
I just think we have a lot to say.
we have a lot to say.
And I don't want to skimp out, neither of us do. So stay tuned for at least one more Hunger Games episode. I'm predicting 2 more.
For sure.
And
think so.
like I said, any quotes that you have in the comments, that would be great so that we could add it to our next podcast episode and talk about it. But yeah, stay tuned.
This is Booked and Buzzin.
This is
See you next time.
Bye.